go. Just look at them blow. Line them all up in a row. We knock them all down to the floor. Down to the crush. Everything easy to us. Power like this is a rush. This is how we crush. Another high score going up. Nobody winning like us. We crush. Nobody winning like us. Nobody winning like us. We crush. Nobody winning like us. Nobody winning like us.
Hello, welcome to the FNCS Europe Major 1 Second Chance Qualifier. We've never done one of these before, so we're going to sum up what this means for you on the desk. Don't worry, we're going to have 8 electrifying games tonight. Sorry, we're not going to have 8. We're going to have 6, but we're going to send 8 Duos over to Dusseldorf in May. And joining me to discuss those Duos, of course, we have to have Mini Miner and Levin 2K. Levin, you were in Bucharest last night. Are you still in Bucharest now?
No, I managed to get home in time. I was never, ever gonna miss out on the second chance qualifier. You know, we had so much fun last week with the last chance lobby. I wanted to do a last chance lobby, so I'm here.
Mini Miner, are you regretting saying geez Louise on the last broadcast? You could have saved it till tonight.
I know, I thought it was the last thing I was going to say. I thought I was getting like a great exit for Major 1, and look, here we are again. I already had my bags packed for Dusseldorf as well. I had to unpack everything, and now we're here again, but it's great to be back. It almost feels weird. It's like going into school on a weekend. Like, it just doesn't feel right that we're here, but we're here anyway.
Well, it's lovely to be back with all of you tonight. And you know what? I know there's going to be some really happy fans out there, because if we bring up the lobby list, you'll see some names that obviously haven't made it to Dusseldorf yet, but the fans really want to see them. And who wouldn't want to see Mr. Savage, Levin?
Oh, I think everybody wants to see him. He is similar to me right now, where he's, not currently at his home base setup, but he's managed to make it work, and they've managed to qualify for the lobby. And of course, everybody wants to see Mr. Savage there. When he and Velo joined, I think we were all optimistic about the potential. It was kind of lackluster as far as the results have gone, and you've seen Velo sort of rebranding to this whole no remorse gimmick, right? He wants to show the world that he's going to make up for the wrongs, the mistakes that have led them to have to play in this lobby minute.
Yeah, but I'm really glad that they actually stuck together. I mean, it didn't go perfectly for them when it came to this major so far. It hasn't been the absolute dream major that I'm sure both of them would have wanted, but I'm sure from both perspectives, I'm sure Mr. Savage could have easily thought, oh, maybe I play with someone a little bit more experienced, and maybe Velo thinks maybe I'll play with someone that's also at my sort of level of up-and-coming nature. But I'm really glad they stuck together. I think they're a fantastic team. Of course, landing towards the south side of Frigid Fortress. I did look on the map. It says they're uncontested. I went on Velo's socials. He said that they're getting surprise conned. And then I looked in the replies of that tweet and that post, and everyone was saying, oh, don't fall for it. They're not getting surprise conned. So I think I've actually fallen for it. I don't know if they're surprise conned or not. We'll have to wait and see.
Can we just clarify? Is he also playing at the Eiffel Tower right now, Mr. Savage? Because he was earlier today. We'll have to get some people in chat to go and investigate that for us and let us know as we bring back the lobby list and talk about Vadil and Dew. This is a new duo for the second chance qualifier. And actually, I have to say, Mini Miner, I'm surprised that Vadil made a switch, because he was incredible at the last chance qualifier last week, narrowly missing out on a victory royale. But Vampy was a great clutcher too.
Yeah, it was an interesting split. I mean, of course, they didn't quite make it all the way to the major finals. They did make it through to the last chance qualifier, of course, but here they are today now, Vadil playing with Dew. Interested to see what these guys can do. Of course, they had very different stories, but when it came to this last chance qualifier 11, this solo clutch from Vadil was absolutely unreal.
It really was. He was rewinding the years. He looked like his Chapter 3, Season 3 FNCS winning self. He has 5. He ends the game here on 8. He just didn't stop, right? It just looked like a vintage Vadil endgame clutch. But it resulted in a second, and unfortunately resulted in a second in a format that last week only rewarded a win. And so it meant nothing at the end of the day. Today, with our 6 games, it is just a regular set lobby, right? It's rewarding that consistency. So if he can have some more games like that, if they can come through with some more clutches, it's going to do them a much better chance of being able to qualify for the LAN.
Well, his ex-German teammate Reason has already qualified for Dusseldorf, so how great would it also be to have Badil on LAN as well? If we turn our attention, so boys, to page 2 of the lobby list, you'll see 2 icons of Europe, and it would be such a shock if these guys don't make it to Dusseldorf after having this second chance. But they have been underwhelming so far this season, Levin.
Yeah, you'd have to be honest and say that it hasn't been what you'd expect from 2 players of their caliber, of their history, of their stature. And the reality is, Mini Miner, there will still be doubts as they go into the lobby today, right? They're landing obviously over towards the north of the map. They're going to be landing at sort of the Acorn and Bolt spot, right? And the big thing with these 2 is they potentially will be contested today. And so in a lobby where, you know, the games are finite, you really want to be able to give yourself the best possible chance to just find some momentum. If they end up having to go down or spawn a couple times here and there, it isn't going to bode well.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about this being the second chance qualifier, but realistically, for both of these guys, this is about the 18th chance that they've had this season to actually turn up and show what they can do, because they're 2 incredibly experienced players, both of them not having the seasons to remember so far. But, I mean, what we're seeing here is 2 very experienced players coming together, trying to perform very well at the top side of North Wonky Land. The issue is if we look at the sort of narrative of this season, getting 2 players that are very experienced coming together, that have had so much experience together, hasn't worked out. So really intrigued to see actually what happens with this sort of concoction of a duo here.
Yeah, we cannot stress enough how strange it would be to not see these guys go through despite the season so far. If we look at their previous Grand Finals placements, these guys were consistency personified last year, Mini Miner, and now we're risking not seeing them at the first LAN of the year.
Well, I mean, look at these results from 2025. It's absolutely unreal. First and second at the 2025 Globals. They both managed to get a win, of course, last year as well. And it's just so strange that we're talking about these guys in the context of not making it, of course, to the Major 1 finals. Now having this extra chance to qualify to the Summit, it would be a real miss to not have them there, Levin.
Yeah, I think ultimately, right, the game has changed since last year as far as the meta and how, you know, the formula for success. The silver lining for these 2, though, I would say, is that there have been times where this season, in set lobbies, they've both looked good, albeit playing with different teammates at the time. But I think early on in the season, there was still a bit of hope that Vanyo and Wox, when they were playing together, and Mustache and Pix, when playing together in a set lobby, can get you a good enough result if needed. And so hopefully, they still got a bit of juice left in the tank.
By the way, I also want to shout out that Ping and Wox are back together. So definitely going to be keeping eyes on them in the lobby tonight as well. We're going to be keeping our eyes on Truly and Gonzo, because this is a duo that qualified to Grands via the last chance qualifier last week, obviously getting their victory royale. That's what got you through the LCQ. But they weren't able to convert this into consistency once they made it to that stacked lobby 11. They had to settle for 34th, but they're going to potentially be up against it tonight as well.
These guys were the catalyst for one of the biggest stories in the major finals last weekend. They surprise contested Swizzy and Pixie at Dark Dominion, and on the first day, they gave them a rough ride. They led those guys to finish way down in the standings, and Mini, they had a couple of games where it did look like this was going to be the team that everybody had expected them to be. You know, 2 very talented players who have looked like they are on the rise as far as their ability and their results go. It didn't quite pan out their way after day 2 when Swizzy and Pixie actually like sat up in their gaming chairs and locked in. But my hope today is that uncontested at Dark Dominion, they should be good enough to make it through. I feel really good and confident about these guys getting top 8 today.
Yeah, and what's really valuable is, of course, they can use that experience that they have from that Dark Dominion fight. They know the sort of situation that could happen. They know what could happen around them, teams rotating in, using those teleporters, of course, as well. They sort of understand that. And being uncontested now, although it looks like that on the map, maybe we'll see a little bit more contestation there as well. So we'll have to wait and see.
But I'm excited to see what our casters, Taco and Takata, have to look forward to tonight. So let's check in with them.
One of my favorite things about these style of lobbies, Takata, is that you just never know what to expect. What starts off as initial drop points for a lot of these duos could end up changing very rapidly as the matches actually draw on. And not only that, but a team like Truly and Gonzo, it's hard not to be excited for them given their performance in finals. I know it didn't pan out for anything past 34th ultimately, but at the same time, I mean, they've looked really solid despite being such a new forming duo.
Yeah, and I'm also curious to how the qualifications today shake up the drop mat at the Summit LAN. We have other duos like Podosai Sado, they're at Frozen Shard, west of Frigid Fortress. We also have Latte Landing, Ping and Walks. If we look at the Summit LAN drop map currently, Ager's Ritual and Reet Cooper are both at Latte Landing, and then west side of Frigid Fortress, we have Chat Flixie and iDrop Marius. Now, they will only be playing on day 2 of the Summit LAN if they do qualify today against the bottom 25 duos that didn't qualify in day 1. So the drop map can still change up. It really depends on which duos end up qualifying. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Tons of things to factor in here today, Takada. But for right now, we got to kick it back on over to Frankie and the gang.
Thank you very much, guys. Now, tonight in the lobby, we're going to have a whopping 18 French players. And given that we didn't have any French players on LAN in Lyon at the Global Championships, we really want to see some make it through to Germany. And one duo the Gentlemates fans in particular will be cheering for are Akira and Kurama. They couldn't make things work. However, Levin, at the weekend, they came 39th in Grands and they're contested tonight.
Yes, in Grands Mini, they landed at the Ice King Vault. They were contested, surprise contested in some of the games. They didn't know how to handle it. Today, they're landing at Battlewood Boulevard, and they know going into it, they will be contested. But the key difference today is they are landing at Battlewood, which if you were watching FNCS last weekend, you will know that this is the POI that gave us our FNCS champions in EU. It gave us our FNCS champions in NA. And so these guys have the blueprint. They have the formula going into today. And not only that, Miniminer, Akira and Kurama will be coached by the EU FNCS champion Sky and Scroll. For 6 out of the 6 games today, Sky and Scroll will be in their call, giving them the guidance, giving them the technique, the tactics, everything they should possibly need to succeed today, they have. And so Akira and Kurama should be expected to qualify through today.
That's going to be absolutely vital. I mean, not only had, of course, Sky and Scroll been landing at that drop spot for the entire of the year, but of course, remember that game number 11 on the weekend against Chino and Pablo. They know how to drop here better than anyone. And in Akira and Kurama's case, lots of hype about them going into this major final that we just had on the weekend. A lot of people had them in their top 10. Some I saw maybe even in the top 5s as well. So they're definitely a team that a lot of people expect to do well, particularly now that they have this off-spawn coaching and off-spawn sort of expertise in their call. I think the big question is now it's just whether they're going to be able to actually get over the line here and get into that top 8, because they definitely have what it takes. And of course, we want to see the Gentlemates on that.
Of course we do. And we also want to see what's going to happen with Skyjump and Mumsy. They came 21st in Grands. It was so close between a space at Dusseldorf and not. And tonight they're going to be trying to make good on that promise we've seen so far, Miniminer. The question is, are they going to be contested? Because Cora and Styler, who we thought were going to be contesting them, keep changing their drop spot. So what are you reckoning is going to happen here?
Well, yeah, they keep changing their drop spot. So they're currently on the map, they're not contested. We don't actually know necessarily if they are going to be contested, but they have to be very, very careful of that possibility. I personally think they will be, and I think this is a drop spot that we've seen throughout the major finals and, of course, in the LCQ and in the heats to be a very hotly contested drop spot, particularly when you look at teams like Shark and Teeny and Hutty and Fishy X. These guys had a little bit of success both sides when coming out of this drop spot. But now when we condense it down into 6 games, each and every one of these fights is going to be so important. But I think Levin, they placed 21st in the major finals. They were the best team to not qualify through, of course, if you look at that. So they should, I suppose, be going into this with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I would expect them to, right? At the end of the day, it's incredibly fine margins, you know, and, you know, if I was them, I would sort of have the mentality of, look, going into this lobby, we're too good for this lobby. We shouldn't have even been here. It was only, you know, a matter of small little circumstances that mean we are here. We're landing at one of the better spots. Yeah, there's been a couple teams over the course of last weekend that struggled to play out of Wonkyland, but I think contested or uncontested, there should be an understanding of what they need to do here to find success, and I think we have 2 incredibly talented players who can do that.
Levin, we know that Wonkyland is a drop spot worth fighting for, but we only have 6 games tonight. If you are a duo like Skyjump and Mumsy and you are having trouble, do you decide to just risk going elsewhere, or do you just commit to the bit?
I mean, I feel like that depends so much on the team, right? If it's a spot you've been landing at all season long, then sure. If maybe it's not and you've been landing somewhere else, you might want to go back to where you're comfortable. There's so many different variables that come into factor. Ultimately though, you just don't even want to be in that position. Just win a couple off spawns, get 2 good games, and then you ain't got to worry about that.
Miniminer, are there any dark horses in this lobby tonight?
I think there's a few. I mean, I know that there's a few names that we just talked about that like are going to be sort of top tier teams that we need to look out for. But I'm looking at the map right now. I'm looking at Moneymaker for Nine. They have a very, very good performance leading up to today. They've had some decent performances. They've been showing that they can win as well. So of course that doesn't necessarily matter too much here, but getting those wins, getting those high placements is going to be super, super valuable. So if they can get one early, they should be okay.
Well, in just 6 games' time, we will be sending 8 more duos over to the Major One Summit in Dusseldorf. So let's get started with game number 1. Over to you, Taco and Takata.
Thank you guys so much. And yeah, Takata, knowing that it is 6 lobbies for these duos to ultimately try and confirm themselves as one of those teams placing through consistency. I mean, top 8. That's all you need in order to make it for that Battle Bus adventure at the Major One Summit LAN. So a lot to play for, a lot of stakes, and a lot of nerves, I think, that could be factored in.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what switches up. I know Mini Lev, we're talking about kind of the wonky land. Are Skyjump Momsy contested? Are they not? The duo that was contesting them said, all right, I'll go to Squibbly. It's Cora and Syla. And they're like, actually, I don't think I want to go to Squibbly. I'm going to go to Riptides. I don't know how many times you can switch it up in like 5 minutes, but I wouldn't be surprised if game 1 we go back and they're back at Wonky Land. Another one Minnie was talking about, Mr. Savage Fellow. Good news is we don't have to wait long because the Battle Bus is ready. So let's head into game 1.
Doesn't matter if teams want to go on tour when it comes to drop map expectations. At the end of the day, things are eventually going to be decided, whether it's by the duos themselves directly or by the responses from the teams that they might be having to contend with. Taking a view over by what's taking place north of the map, Vanya, Merstash. The Devs did a great job kind of highlighting the expectations surrounding this duo. 2 individuals with so much rapport in EU and yet just have fallen short. And this is their last opportunity to beat the Fraud Watch charges, Takata. They've really got to take things in stride here today.
It would be devastating if they don't make it. Another big duo we've highlighted, and even just a big POI. Battlewood Boulevard. Now, Levin mentioned Akira Kurama here getting coached by our EU Major 1 champs, Sky and Scroll, but there's another 2 teams in the surrounding area. As we can see, one of them on screen now, but it's also Pix and Ghost, South Boulevard. So if they get into a quick engagement here, the third party is a danger as well. And I might even seen an other duo here.
Look, you can always have coaching recommendations, and it's not going to get much better than when you're dealing with the Major 1 champions as that voice on your, you know, in the back of your minds. But for Akira and Kurama, it's one thing to hear some advice. It's another to be able to deliver on that advice. And I think Battlewood Boulevard has also shifted pretty dramatically in comparison to what we saw during the Major 1 finals. Just a handful more teams that are probably much more likely to get very scrappy early on. Everyone trying to really gauge whether or not they can really put their footing down. But Skyjump Momsy, they are contested, just not by who you would expect. Kabal, unfortunately, on the receiving end, most of the damage here. Just the last couple of ticks of HP. Momsy is going to be able to bring him down, no problem. Kilda now left to scramble. It's either fight or play for your life, and it looks like they're opting for the retreat element, but doesn't seem so they're going to be able to go too far here. Momsy and Skyjump absolutely beaming on this chase, and yeah, it comes as no real surprise here that they want to close things out. Wonky Land fully in control now by Momsy and Skyjump.
They were prepared to be contested, and they did not let down. Our best performing duo in the finals to have not qualified to the Summit LAN. They literally got 21st place when top 20 qualify. This is a duo that has what it takes, and they're showing what they're made of.
All they want to find is consistency. Sus Studios also heating up, though. Teams looking, just kind of filter in after the fact, see what they can steal from some of these early engagements. And Theo Benfica right now kind of holding last player. But there's really nowhere left to run. You know that the collapse is inevitable, and the fact of the matter is, sometimes you just have to hope that the rerun in game 2 goes a little bit better here. They went for the lurk attempt, but Benfica just had a much better angle of approach. It's part of the risk involved when you're going for these early aggressive plays.
Con faded now. Just signed to Seoul as well. Shout out to them. Squibbly Shores now. This is one that kind of had a bit of surprise cons, and what's interesting is Confaded don't actually drop right onto Squibbly, so they are rotating through, but Pablo, or Pingu, sorry, is in a bit of chaos here at Latte.
Walks though. They need to find a way to try and 180 this in their favor, but Dexy, Fido, they're looking to get off to a hot start here. North of the map, Dexy just looking, knows that he only needs one more conversion and the shot will connect. Being gonna be the first one brought down, Walk shortly after. A very early dismissal for two well-known EU vets, but Fido, Dexy, they didn't come to play. They are here to contend for one of those 8 positions on the leaderboard.
It's not what we would expect for Ping Walks. I mean, they got 18th in Heat 2. But like you said, they're big contenders on the EU region. 5 more matches for them. We'll see how they can play it out. Belusi and Zangi. They were close as well in the finals. They got 28th. So we'll see if they can make something happen here.
Casper and Prism, though, another one of those duos on EU that you wouldn't necessarily anticipate to be in this current position. They've had moments of strength, but now they're really going to have to bunker down here today. When you're trying to go toe-to-toe with Zangi and Belusi, certainly a duo that can draw things out. But this far northeast of the map, a little bit less likely that you have to be worried about a third-party intervention still. Casper, Prism definitely trying to very much avoid those kinds of precarious situations. They're content right now to just hold the overhead view. Zangi and Belusi, they might just be more interested in departing. That surge, we saw just how many issues it caused for some teams throughout the majority of that Major 1 finals. The teams have had some time to look to review things, and yeah, they'd rather invest the mats to disengage over everything else right now, so things will ultimately just fizzle out for the time being at Pington.
Does look like the zone this match so far is favoring Sandy Strip area, so for the teams here, for the moment they will be happy. The Strokikiro has a good amount of teams in the surrounding area as well, but gotta be careful when you're looking for those tags. As you mentioned with Net Surge, you cannot let yourself get hit. But the good news is if they don't have to rotate too far, there won't be as many risks that they do have to take to make it to zone.
But when you have so many elevated surge bases, it's always going to play a part in influencing the way that other teams will rotate, especially knowing that Hardcore and Kire are also holding a separate surge base right across at Sandy Strip, so could definitely cause some issues in terms of allowing teams to really have those real openings and finding consistent search tags. All across, Badil knows you. Not the sight that you want to see for a German icon right now, but Badil making the most of the situation. We know that he can definitely clutch up when left to his own devices. Problem that Takada is that he would very much prefer to just be able to go for a reboot opportunity, but Akira, Kurama, they also seem like they need to spend a little bit more time inside of the storm, refarming some materials, even looking for some whites back at their surge base.
The toughest part about this too is zones pretty much heading to the opposite side of the map, so it's not like you could spend too much extra time here. I'm more worried for Fadil as he has to go for the reboot and kind of get the scraps as he makes his way back, but we'll see what Akira Kurama can do.
The thing is, you have to remember, they're getting coached by Sky and Scroll, and Sky and Scroll, whenever they played from this position, they would stick around until 4th, 5th zone, that was usually the departure point for them. And for Kurama and Akira, they are very much set up in a similar position to do the exact same. They might even be able to get some tags towards Fury. His duo look to rotate. Kido and Haijo, though, this is a big investment of materials. It's very reminiscent. I think Rapid is one of the first that comes to mind over on the NAC region. You can always tell exactly where he's coming from just because of the way that he would burrow with his tarps across the map. But Haijo and Kido, sometimes sacrifices have to be made. And there is an ample amount of brick on this rotational path, so it's not like it's too steep of a cost for them, but it does let other teams know that, hey, there's someone moving here.
Vanya Mustache. I'm very excited to see how they perform today. I mean, looking back at 2025, we had Vanya, Pixie, Marius, second global championship, 1 major, 2. Now, both of Vanya's trios have already qualified to Summit. He's the only one that's left. Mustache coming from being that global champion now. The expectations are there. We'll see if they can live up to them.
Khan gonna take the porta potty right now. Except for Dark Dominion, Karhawa, Debul, spending a little bit more time farming some of the leftover materials. Okay loadouts, got a pizza to work with, so it's not like these early storm ticks are really gonna apply too much pressure. It's more so about preventing yourself from being overly exposed. You start making your way to that next edge of zone. Yeres, Sinhead. Then is hoping to get some of the opening shots though on some Mustache, Vanya, but they're already on the move. Latte landing. Pad just makes it all that much more easier to rotate in.
So they were dropping west of Wonky Land and actually going to be kind of contested by Kielba and Gabao, but you know, they ended up going Wonky, so I'm wondering if Synagear has actually had their drop full on con or if they kind of just forced Kielba out because they just beat them at the drop by far, but either way, they're making their way in now and their eyes are on this match.
Rather expend a little bit more time utilizing the campfire though, just to preserve as much of their white heals as they can. They also know there's another duo that could potentially intercept them, so they're trying to remain out of sight, maybe get some of the opening shots. Other teams though, also stuck inside of the storm, surrounded right now. Lusha and Howley, way more company than what they would like. With this much local foot traffic, it's no surprise that they would rather opt to be a little bit more patient, play the fishing game. A lot of survivability, depending on what exactly they're able to fish out, but it also means that other teams in the surrounding area are probably going to keep a very steady eye on what those two get up to after the fact.
Yeah, I saw Vidil Ju are actually back there, so Vidil did get the reboot in. Now rotating on through is Gira Sinet. Gonna take some pop shots. This is a super pad, so if you are able to combine it with the Flowberry Overdrive like they're doing here, it goes over 300 meters in the sky, as you can see. 1 of 2 on the map. So they should be able to get all the way into zone from this. 136 above, though. Makes me a little nervous.
Yeah, things are a bit fickle whenever the surge is just about even. I think that's a good way to look at things when you're sitting underneath that 200 above threshold, because just 1-2 tags and you're right back in the red zone of being underneath that surge threshold overall, and you have so much more restrictions imposed upon you once you actually start to get into the zone, because teams are just not giving many opportunities for the comeback, because nobody wants to try and find themselves in a similar position. A lot of times we're seeing teams just choose to box up to the last moment and take some of those later rotates, or even some of the earlier ones. It's just very difficult to get your bearings. Pix and Ghost, though, another one of our newer duos, came together specifically for this tournament, and now it's about seeing whether or not they're going to be able to break through and find their way on the battle bus for Dusseldorf.
Yeah, they got Oncon South, Battlewood Boulevard, so let's see if they can make use of it. 7 above for Pixovsky and Saren. This is where you start feeling the pressure. Good news is there's a lot of teams rotating in. They were able to get ahead, but Pixofsky is just not landing the shots that he needs to land. Instead, he is the one taking the damage. This is where you have to be careful.
You say that, but Pixofsky and Zeta, and they're ahead of everybody else right now. Vidil also still trying to break in with Ju, but despite losing a little bit of shield here, still manages to maintain just slightly above that damage threshold. Even a look back, see what kind of action was really being involved here and some of the lower elevation points. Ju doing a great job just to take advantage, tagging up some teams that were slightly ahead of them, but now they're caught. Part of the problem that's involved when you are one of those last teams rotating in and shooting at the others ahead of you, you just make yourself an optimal target for everybody else in the lobby, especially those players that just make it out in front of you. Or Vidil having to use a medkit even just to try and withstand some of the pressure from this net surge right now, but they're gonna have to take a fight, and they're just so weak before they started. Vidil is gonna have to connect with a huge shot here, but he's already getting tagged by the lobby. Doesn't even get a chance to make it in. XZ now looking back towards Ju, and while there was some good pressure applied against Puka, this is just another duo that's kind of suffering victims right now to the rest of the lobby. They won't get a chance to make it in. The pressure from Surge and the other players just too much to overcome.
Great job from Ju there. I mean, big shots cost both players to get eliminated there on the rotate. It was a tough one, though, with everyone looking back. Podesai and Sado. They've got Oncon, Frozen Shard, west of Frigid. Great drop spot. Great chances to get top 8 today. I'm happy to see them 260 above in the 8. Len get 8 end game already. Howley Lucia as well, looking incredibly strong. One of our top performers leading into today.
At least trying to see if they can take over a little bit of elevation here. Gonna invest kind of early on, but no one's fully in control of height just yet. Pixofsky and Zedin, though, they have definitely still got their work cut out for them, but it's just not enough. Takata, the Surge, just battering away at their HP still. Only one small shield potion left for Zedin here, and his primary concern right now is, how do I even cover this ground? He's only got his gauntlets at his disposal. He's trying to cut in, hopes that there's something left over in this Surge base from another team, and whether or not he finds any kind of utility heals, it's still feeling more and more like a delay over everything else right now. He doesn't have time to pick and choose. He's just got to get some shots sent out right now. Skozer, mild victim, but it's still not enough for Zedin to actually stay standing here. Belusi and Zangi, though, just so isolated from the rest of the lobby, but Mr. Savage, here we are. No remorse. Just trying to see if they can make it across here now. They want to make sure they stick towards that front side of zone. It's boded well for them so far. Keto, Igel, Toes getting a little tagged up here by Savage and Velo. Continuing to try and keep their wits about them. Velo, so much to prove in today's competition here today too, Takata, because he is someone where when you look back at the performances that actually panned out, kind of he was very vocal about how he felt in terms of his actual performances, and unfortunately kind of talking up checks that the results didn't necessarily cash out on. But today could be different. Today could be the one. This is the last chance for this duo to try and make it in. But sitting underneath the Surge, they got to get fraggy.
I mean, odds are in their favor. They were triple conned in Heats. Now on con, it's that EU legend with new talent duo, but as quickly as you're above Surge, you can go below. They're feeling the pressure now as Zone has pulled back towards them. They have more than enough heals to hold it out, but it looks like they will need to go for an earlier refresh here, trying to find any opening on the players rotating through.
We still need 5 more players to go down. Vanya, Merstash, another duo struggling with their Surge. 38 below. One good tag, and Vanya is going to be able to find it, but they're still just barely nestled above, and Vanya sending himself straight into the Hornet's nest. Too many players surrounding them. Vanya and Merstash are going to be taken out. High ground seemingly collapsing now on all these teams and these lower layers. Velo left as a solo here now. Won't have the chance to go for the ride just yet, but getting this elimination onto Hydro. That's just an extension, a lifeline. Velo does have overdrive grenades, so he'll at least be able to make his way towards secondary height, playing the middle layer, trying to see whether or not he can prevail. He's going to need more eliminations, though. Every bit of placement from this stage on is where things matter most here, because it's all about the consistency today. So even if it's as a solo, you want to be able to get as much position as you can. And speaking of position, Dexy, Fido, they got some of the best right now in lobby. Ultimate height, players flying overhead, but doing a great job playing defense.
It was at Sandy Strip. They're starting to get launched into the sky. Fido Dexy, though, this is a newly formed duo for the second chance qualifier. Not only did they win off spawn against Ping Walks, now holding on to height. Odds are looking incredibly good in their favor. Kiro, left alone as a solo, does have a pizza, though. As Velo now, you talked about your performance in the heats. You were not happy with it. Now you have a chance to show what you're truly made of. 4 eliminations on the board already, and the solo clutch continues.
He's not the only solo in this lobby either. Kurama hoping that he can bring back Akira into this one. He knows 2 is better than 1 every single time, somehow managing to stay out of sight, out of mind for the rest of the lobby. So he does get the rebound, has a pizza. If he can just get a chance to put it down, that could be the difference maker for the French duo. But now Velo, backside of zone, hoping that there's someone unsuspecting ahead. Howley gonna get a little bit of his shield taken out by Casper. That's the elimination that Velo needs. He's just continuing to break through. Doesn't get too much of a chance to celebrate, though. Has to keep moving every single second, working against him. But Velo still finding a way to stay left standing on his 2 feet.
What a performance. He's already gotten 4 eliminations as a solo, getting closer and closer to the top 10. Only 4 more. Mad Zangi's gone down. Velo, you've got 3 more builds. You can't get seen by height. You're gonna have to drop down. The shots are coming through, and that will be the end. Still a great solo clutch.
Hey, he made it into the top 10. That's what matters currently. But Momsy, Sky Jump, Ultimate Low, and they are doing their best to turn it into the Demolition Derby right now. Front side of zone control. 5 eliminations already for this French duo. Now looking, see they can get Giras, but it's gonna be Mumsy who's lost in the mix. Doesn't actually make it onto the hill face, so now Sinet fully aware of the fact that he's got Skyjump breathing down his neck, but Skyjump doesn't have an opportunity yet to go for those shots. Dexy, Fido, overhead one more time. All they've got to do from this point on, Takata, is just make sure that they apply pressure, because these lower layers are having to eat themselves alive right now. Howley and Lusha, though, look at the refresh. The material count might just be the difference maker here in the low ground.
Just one more build left, though. That refresh ended quickly. Skyjump's gone down. Fido Dexy, they've had height uncontested from first moving to now. Nobody has been able to take it from them. The pressure is just too much. Howley cracked now. They have every advantage possible. Dexy, Fido, all you have to do is close this one out.
This is just looking like a masterclass of how to play high from a safely nestled position. Overdrive gonna send Dexy for a moment outside of zone, but nothing too precarious just yet. Jake Buka just trying to cause chaos right now, though, but that last overdrive might have sent him a little bit too far forward. Jake Buka now for the high ground. Dexy's actually fallen. Fido doing his best to contend, and fortunately will hold strong. So Fido and Dexy still walk away with it, but Jake Buka definitely calling it for a close one.
I was starting to feel the pressure after 3 overdrives from Jake Buka. He just kept launching them out of the zone. Dexy went down, but Fido said, I am not going to let that one slide. Frankie 11 Mini, that was exciting.
It was super exciting. I mean, these duos are going to be throwing everything at the lobby tonight to not miss out on a spot at the Major One Summit. And Fito and Dexy 11, they weren't stressing at all.
No, I mean, they've had to start the game with a bit of stress and panic, right? They're fighting off spawn at Latte against Ping and Watts. Obviously, the duo, Frankie, you said you were really hoping to see a lot from. They win the off spawn fight. And so what does that mean, Mini? We all know what that means in Fortnite. You win your off spawn, you have to make the game count, and there's no better way to do it than that. If you've been watching EU for years, Mini, you would have seen Dexy playing on height. He's loved to do this for years. He loves high ground. He showcased exactly what to do up there in this game, and Fito able to close it out as well. Big props to him as well. These are the types of games they're gonna have to keep having now.
Yeah, they need to make the most of those games they went off spawn. You're absolutely right. And I was actually kind of surprised here that there wasn't too much contestation from other teams. I think there was that one team that decided to try and go up for it, but it just shows how well they managed to hold on to the height for themselves. A little bit of a wobble at the end. I mean, props to Jake Buka for what he did. That was great there from Fito. Look at that. And then, of course, to close out the game in style. That was really nice, actually. We didn't get to see his POV, but that was a really chaotic finish. But for those guys, really excited to see what they can do now. Of course, they held height really well, managed to find some refreshes, and won the first game. Of course, that doesn't send you straight to the summit. It's all about consistency still, but they couldn't have asked for a better start.
Yeah, absolutely, Mini Miner. We'll be seeing how our other duos did after this short break. Welcome back to the second chance qualifier. We've got 5 more games tonight, and our first one was a real barnstormer. So sucks to be you if you missed it. Go back and watch the VODs on that one and see how Dexy and Fito dominated the high ground. Let's talk about how our other duos in the lobby did tonight, though, in game number 1, because everyone knows they can't afford to have a slow start here, Levin. And Skyjump and Mumsy, they got the memo.
Again, we talked about important off-spawn battles. They ended up actually fighting against the team I don't think we really, factored in there, Mini Miner, but it doesn't matter. It's Wonky Land. There's always going to be some wonky stuff going on. They made the most of it, though, right? They get out of Wonky alive, and they end up playing out the game. And, again, we talked about making these games count. Mumsy goes down, right? And Skyjump, the resilience, right? To not give up on the play, not give up on the game. That's what you need in these lobbies right now.
Yeah, it is absolutely right. I mean, we saw that these guys just have so much potential, so much skill, and we spoke about it at the beginning of the day. These guys just seem to have a little bit more over the rest of this lobby, so it shouldn't be a surprise that they're in these positions and finding themselves in successful situations in the end game as well. And of course, a nice little solo clutch from Skyjump just to get those extra few placements as well. Ended up with a 5th with 6 eliminations, putting them 4th on the leaderboard, so not a bad start at all for them.
It'll be great to see how well they do tonight, but definitely eyes will be on them in the lobby and in the audience as well. Savage and Velo, though.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, what a fantastic performance. We have to highlight Velo. At 11, you sound enthusiastic about that one because that clutch to 9th place when the odds were against him was something else.
This game for them actually played out exactly sort of how I expected as far as the dynamics, right? Because one of the key things with these two is their season ended a while ago, right? And so the question's always going to be, we've watched, you know, the major finals happen. People know how to play the game as successfully as possible, right? You've been able to go back and watch. We've seen top players going back, watching what all of these top players were doing. Savage has been on holiday, right? He's in Paris. He's not been locked in. And we saw them down on Surge, and I was like, is this going to be a pattern of with them today? Because maybe Savage hasn't been able to lock in, watch the VODs. If that's the case, you're going to need Velo to solo clutch and have games like that one if they're going to have a good chance of competing here.
It's going to be difficult for them as well, though. Of course, the inexperience of Velo at this sort of level is going to be interesting to see what he can now bring for the rest of today, whether he's going to be able to keep up that pressure. But I think, you know, he's definitely got the skill. He's definitely got the talent. And to solo clutch right there to put them in that, what was it, top 7 for them? Really nicely done from him. I mean, no remorse, as you can see it from his name. So definitely not playing with any sort of strings attached right now. He is just running free.
Meanwhile, Akira and Kurama, coached by Sky and Scroll, you mentioned earlier tonight at 11, they did make it off spawn at Battlewood Boulevard, got themselves some nice surge tags in there as well, 1 elimination to their name, Mini Miner. But the end game was a little bit choppy for them.
Little bit messy, yeah. They of course made it there, which is important considering their situation when it comes to the off spawn. Interested to see what these guys can actually do going forward. There was a little bit of a revive situation here as well, which I think kind of threw off a lot of their endgame 11. But there's definitely more to come from this year. I think if there's a team that I definitely expect to be inside of that top 8 at the end of the day, it is them. A little bit of a rocky start, but not an absolute disaster.
Yeah, give them time. We'll figure it out along the way. I think, again, there's always going to be learnings as you are playing from a new spot, especially on the complete other side of the map to what they were playing in the lead up to Grand. So patience with these ones, I think, as the games go on.
We can't be patient, guys. We've only got 5 more games, but Howling and Lucia, they're aware of that. They were kitted out for the end game. We'll talk about that in a moment, though, because actually, if we turn our attentions back to page number 1, Fastaroki and Kiro, they are at that cutoff point right now, Mini Miner. The question is, can they consistently remain there?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see what this duo can bring, of course, today. They had a decent enough start right here as well. And I think both of these players have had some success at different points during their careers as well. And it's nice to see them now sort of coming together, finding a little bit of success here in this game. But they've still got 5 more games to go. And they are contested off spawn at Sandy Strip as well. So it's not going to be an easy day for them. Again, they need to make the most of these games. But big ups to them for making it to the end game and, of course, winning off spawn.
I mentioned Howley and Lusher before, 11. I know you were keen to talk about these guys. I wanted to ask you what happened with them because we saw the mid to low ground end game. They were kitted out. They looked ready to be in it for the long haul to the bitter end, but they didn't quite make it there.
Yeah, I think the key thing with Howley and Lusher in that first game is it's been very different to what we've seen from them this season. I actually would love someone to go back and just, if you are jobless and have no time at all, can we count up who's had the most screen time in FNCS this major? I feel like we've watched Howley and Lusher play so much this season. They've literally been in every single broadcast, every single stage we've had, and we've seen a very consistent pattern with these guys. They're gonna be up on high ground. There might be a couple games where one of them falls off height and, you know, they happen to solo clutch it out, but they're gonna be a high ground team. They started off today not with that approach, and I wonder if that remains the same, if they've changed the approach in this second last chance.
Interesting. Well, I mean, Mini Miner, you love it when these guys go high.
Yeah, I want to see them on high for no reason at all, just to, you know, just to hopefully get them to win a game. But no, it's actually nice to see them switching things up, not being afraid of that. Of course, they did have success on high, but for this sort of format, it's not last chance qualifier, it's not win and you're in, it is consistency. So I think that low ground's going to be so key. We saw it work so well for Sky and Scroll over the weekend as well. I'm sure they can try and replicate that as well.
Now, I feel bad bringing this up, but Mersash and Vanya, difficulties, I guess, in the mid-game meant that we didn't see them go the distance in this one. Levin, do you think that this is a communication issue? What do you think is going on with this particular pairing?
Again, you know, this is a new pairing, right? They've sort of come together for this, and ultimately there's been concerns from both sides about understanding whether or not their read on the meta is as good, whether their execution is going to be at the elite level you'd expect it to be. And so again, I think we're all sort of learning about these guys as the games go on, and that wasn't a great start.
Yeah, so let's see if they can pick it up in game number 2 with Taco and Takata.
Thank you, Frankie. Look, the good news is, despite previously having 4 eliminations to fall damage back to back, we've got none today, so it's a good start. Now, in terms of drops, getting into the real note, Skyjet Momsy looking like they actually might be contested. We'll see if Kelba go for that again. Did not go their way in game 1. For Mersash Vanya, they didn't perform in the end game, but they were not contested despite the drop map saying that it was a possibility. Game 2 is ready to go. Let's get right into it.
We already knew heading into today at Takata that things were bound to change, especially some of those last-minute decisions. And the other thing to take into back of the players' minds is, just because you started off game 1 contested or uncontested doesn't mean that that's going to remain as the theme for the rest of the lobbies. This is a great point, though, for teams to sort of try and establish themselves. If you are already inside of that top 8, you really want to try and build on those leads now, get some momentum going here in game 2. Kurama and Akira under a little bit of pressure from the teams overhead, but Kurama landing on the hill. Great shots to connect. That's going to be the first elimination here. Maybe even alleviating some of that pressure that they were kind of experiencing earlier on. But once the dust has settled, Akira and Kurama holding strong currently at Battlewood Boulevard.
I think he missed a single shot, so that's what you get for shooting my teammate. Huge in terms of recuperating that net. Surge. It'll be a slower early game now for Akira Kurama as they get kitted up for later. Hanging walks though. What went wrong?
Fido Dexy is what went wrong if I had to take a guess. And what's even crazier to think about too is that we haven't really seen teams have that outright success. Throughout the course of this entire Major 1, Latte Landing has been just one of those POIs that people are thinking, like, is this place even worth dropping at? Because it's so difficult to really see teams converted into something fruitful, and yet lobby number 1, Fido Dexy, they get the better end of this off spawn, and they translate it into a game 1 victory royale with a good amount of eliminations to work with too. And so when you've got a team like Penguin Walks kind of on the ropes like this, it does raise a whole lot of concerns for Penguin Walks, and maybe even start to wonder, is it really worth them trying to contest, or should they just maybe try and bargain elsewhere?
Looking over to Squibbly though, this is kind of a bit of a mix-up. Ram and Kaimu were originally dropping at the opposite side of the map, east, by Builder's Barracks, so it's interesting to see them all the way over west now, like you said, especially in a second chance qualifier. Things will change. There's going to be a lot of mix-ups. Glebshi Prax, they got 23rd in the finals, just 3 placements away to qualifying for the Summit LAN. The second closest duo in the lobby currently to have not qualified, but still made it to the finals. So the way they started it off, 26 points. I mean, cutoff currently is 54, so honestly, it's not looking great. But we do have 5 matches left.
And it's not to say they couldn't look to find their rhythm a little bit later on, especially when you've got teams like Killa and Gobao that are trying to take that more randomized approach. When you're switching up your drop spot, you have to imagine how much practice, how much time did they really get to try and cement some of these opening ideas. For a team like Prax and Glubshi that knew very early on that they wanted to take their chances over by New Sanctuary, probably one of the most fickle parts of this POI is just that lower elevation point. So even if you manage to come out on top during that initial exchange, it's not to say that you're considered safe moving inwards, because so many teams can look at where you're positioning at.
feel like the whole map's just randomized at this point. I mean, no one's dropping what the drop map said. Like, I'm looking at the players and I'm looking at the drop map. I'm like, am I looking at like the wrong drop map? Like, what's going on here? Everybody's switching it up, but
This is close enough
Yeah, close
for
enough.
home, I think, for Scozer and JSN. Or a team that definitely had some highlights during their heats, but gotta make sure that you are consistently keeping things kind of amped up here as Savage, Velo, right off the bat of that game 1 performance here, Velo is really trying to do his best, I think, to sort of overcome some of those shortcomings that had taken place beforehand. And it's not always easy to bounce back, but I think what really helps out Velo is having such an experienced veteran like Savage by his side to really help mentally guide him through that.
no, I love to see it. So far, I'm very excited after game 1 to see how the performance continues. Other names, similar to situation in the lobby. We'll shotgun over. Zynox and Co looking quite good, actually. They're in a 2v1, so they do have the upper hand here, but there is a third party coming in if you look at the mini-map bottom right, so hopefully they're going to be aware enough.
This is just so south of the map. It's very feasible for a third party to intervene here. Ledix going to apply so much pressure here too. That pushback is going to force Zynox to kind of take over the brunt of the aggressive charge here. And that little bit of delay, that slight hiccup might be all the time needed for Xanthify and Ein to really work their way into this one. Even though Zynox was able to pick up the elimination, fact of the matter is his duo is still incredibly low. They have no idea about this approaching lurk here. Still taking their sweet time. Have to respect the patience unless it winds up being a whole lot of nothing, but as long as you can get those opening shots here, Xanthify and Ein, right now, got time to work with. Kind of watching their prey move off in the distance. They will send out shots, but all they've really done is given away their position here. Didn't really net them any sort of surge whatsoever.
I think they got like a 30 maybe. Not what you would have wanted for a successful sneak up that they had. Now they're going to be forced to continue looking and even rotating quite significantly further in the zone. So we'll get a quick replay though of Sinet and Giraz.
See, this is what you want to see if you are going for that sneaky method. Giraz and Sinet doing a great job to kind of punish some of these players that weren't able to fully capitalize on some of their early fights. Doesn't matter how it happens. Doesn't have to look pretty, as long as you get the job done and manage to find yourself as one of those 8 teams for consistency on the leaderboard. That's all that anybody's after here today, but Wonky Land continuing to have its own fair share of battles here. Skyjump and Mumsy, though, very much looking to try defend their territory one more time. You know that they got Shark and Teeny also helping to coach them through this POI. And they're not foreign to fighting by any means. This is a duo that loves going for a good scrappy fight.
It worked in game 1. Looks like it might work here in game 2 as well. Max Osku, this is the duo that was originally going to contest the Kira Kararma. Now they're contesting another top team, and it has not went their way.
Great scenes, though, for the French community here. Solary can probably be celebrating right now with the watch party, witnessing Skyjump and Mumsy have this kind of opening success. But we saw, even through their finals performance, right? They just missed out. They were so close. It was only that last lobby where they had too early of a departure, weren't able to net the placement points that they needed to keep themselves confirmed inside of that top 20. You have to expect that they are working with a whole different kind of mentality and approach here. Zexy, Krispuka, no problem finding their first 2 eliminations. And another kind of note to make on that is knowing eliminations being worth 4 points apiece, it can definitely make up for some lost placements for some of these teams in the lobby.
Pix and Ghost now. Ghost is one of the players who was doing it up with Tayson, and now, without it going their way, has made the switch up to play with Pix. So far at 44 points, though, they are right below the cutoff currently. Off to a pretty good start, so I'm excited See how they can play through. Fury, on the other hand, Riptide's teammate looking a little low, but they've got 3 elims on the board, so they've been doing well.
But even with those 3 eliminations, they'd still like to add 1 more to it. And I have to remember, that was a team that had tried to make a third-party move just moments ago. And when it didn't actually pan out in their favor, it just kind of left them a little bit more exposed, because then they're forced to try and search out that surge elsewhere. Fury and Zoomer can already tell they're not scared of the fight. Just trying to figure out where exactly in the building Ein is actually scurried off to, but only so many places left to run as they continue to make their approach, and Zoomer will find closing shots here. 4 eliminations now, 16 points. That's a pretty big jump from when they started off in this second lobby, Takada.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same format as the major finals, where eliminations instead of 3 points are 4. So kicking it off with 4 is incredibly good. That was kind of the differentiator for a lot of the top teams. It was how many eliminations they could consistently be getting. Zangief currently in 9th place, 1 place away for that top 8 qualification. But it's all about that consistency.
And right now, Belusi just trying to be the cutoff point for those teams that are kind of landing a little bit more north towards Frigid Fortress. Think about the likes of Savage and Velo, Podosai Seido, Harkon and Kirei. Teams that are inside of that top 8 that want to try and stay there, but don't want to open yourself up to being caught off guard by teams in those elevated surge bases. Is Vanya and Merstash already navigated their way towards Sandy Strip.
Another Sandy Strip zone. I don't know if Thomas is just watching in the background and be like, I'm glad I'm not in this game again. Because I don't know if we have to make a phone call to Zeke or something, but the amount of zones we've got at Sandy Strip in this major is insane. We saw the replay though. Lusha Howley, quick Elam on the board, 232 above now. As long as we have no fall damage issues, this duo should be able to solidify themselves a nice place at the top.
Why would you even speak that into existence right now? Okay, Lusha has moved on. He is better for it. 3rd time's the charm. Okay, he's past that. He's past that stage of his career. Is now Moza and Nova looking overhead, looming in. This little fight that's kind of building directly underneath here in New Sanctuary. Again, that lower elevation could potentially work against Gobaha and Kilba, even if they're able to find the full finishes on both of these players. You're still gonna have to contend with that team that's overhead of them. They might not even have any inkling of an idea that that duo is still sitting overhead, hanging out, but Nova has to make a decision here. Now or never, 90 below. Gotta get some shots off unless you want to lose all of your heals to Surge.
Zone is pulling back towards their side though, so they can afford to tank a little longer, but these shots are crucial as Storm Surge already starts ticking. The pressure now getting heavier and heavier on their shoulders, forced to drop the pizza. Just 31 below. A couple shots is all it's gonna take as the overdrive backwards. This is not what I'd like to see for a duo that has this much pressure on their shoulders right now. They need to connect something here.
A little bit of panic, but still, they're both just gonna try and focus on just making to zone, hoping that by putting themselves in that position, as teams start to trickle in, maybe they can look, find somebody elsewhere, potentially collapse on. Picks and Ghost. Gotta be wary. Lusha Howley.
Ugh.
They're not gonna waste any time here. Nova is not even gonna get the chance. Just a lot of pressure being applied right now. If it wasn't bad enough already with the Surge, Adapted's gonna make things even worse still, and that's just going to be free loot bodies to take over.
Yep. Good quick refreshes. Looking over at Vidil and Ju. It did not have the strongest start. 4 points. So I'm hoping that now that they're actually looking like they're have a solid chance at the end game, we can see something come from them, but The Surge is what Savage and Velo are feeling now. Solid performance from Velo. I'm hoping they can get past this Surge again.
Maku's not going to get the chance to even make it into zone. Rolling in now. So, partially wrong, but still 314 below. Whole lobby looking in, and Savage and Velo also victims of that lobby focus. Just too many struggles trying to make it into that next edge of zone. Teams are just a little bit quicker at staying ahead of the pack, looking back, spraying. It's very easy to just be caught out in the mix. Ju and Vidil, though, look back to see part of what went wrong here for Savage and Velo. And just a little bit too much congestion for them to contend with, but like I was saying, with Vidil and Ju, I think a lot of people kind of knowing just how explosive things got between Ju and Cantry. Maybe Vidil can help to keep things a little bit more grounded. Very excited to check back in with them shortly, since their surge was well above, and Akira Kurama, they've done an excellent job at managing their surge. 525 above, nestled into a decent elevated position, not quite stuck in the congestion that's sort of pooling underneath them on that ultimate low, and they'll have an opportunity with the overdrive grenades and the Flowberry Mist that they're holding on to actually try and make a stab at height here. If that's their intention, it could just be wait and see what happens next.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of low ground consistency for Sky Scroll, but if they have the opportunity to take it, if odds are in their favor, they'll do it. The Stroke Akiro, just 67 above. Issue is no more shields that I can see, no more heals. Teammate, though, just have some splashes, so they're hoping for a zone pull here. Vidil and Ju. It'd be great to see even more German representation, especially considering that the Summit 1 LAN is in Dusseldorf, Germany. Vidil in 2025, say, was probably or in 24 duos, actually, 2024 duos. It's one of the best with Reason. Didn't go their way starting off this year. And seeing Vidil with Ju now, I mean, the history is there. He knows how to play duos, but it's quite difficult when you kind of switch up your duos last minute. You don't have that chemistry that a duo like Sky and Scroll has, but you have the individual skill. Howley Lusha looking decent.
It is until they try to make their next rotate in. Part of the problem is trying to decide which way the lobby is actually looking when you get a move on. Fortunately, though, for Lusha, finding that elimination onto Lixia means that he can try and make a play for the revive, but the moment that those Flowberry Mist Grenades go off, it always draws attention to your position. Dexy, Fido, one more time, 363 above. Done an excellent job so far, making their way, holding consistent strong points inside of zone. Just trying to make sure, looking at some of these teams caught on the backside that are under so much more pressure, good pick off onto XZ. Whether or not they actually go for the loot might not even matter. What they're really after is just the elimination points, as Akira Kurama still doing a job, making sure to stay concealed. Good chop out for a moment. They're gonna pull that body straight to them. A little steal away action here, as Akira and Kurama won't complain. Every little bit helps at this point. Ijo and Kido, they're actually going to be some of the first to make it onto height, but can they hold it? Well, the rest of the lobbies looking to be setting up to try and see if they can overtake the high ground.
Nice connect. I mean, if it's anything like last game, Vito Dexy held on to height from first moving to last moving. I don't even think they were really contested at all. So we'll see if there's a repeat or if players start playing a little bit more aggro towards it. Lusha, though, left alone with 90 points. Trying to make sure they solidify themselves. Still at the top, but Kiro has to be careful as pressure's getting on him. His teammate is fully cracked. They do have a bit of time to breathe, though.
Yeah, but they don't have any shields to work with, Takada. No Flowberry Mist Grenades. They're going to have to depend exclusively on the movement from that last overdrive grenade, so that's going to be a forfeiture of that secondary height. They're going to opt to go straight to low ground and hope that there's teams that are in a much worse position than them. They can maybe look back on the lobby, try and get a pick or two. They need the elimination refresh, and they need it now. Kurama and Akira also contending with the low ground. They might be some of the first to clash with some of these other teams, but still doing their best to try and claim as much space as they possibly can. Dexy and Fido, though, not shocked to see them try and go for Hype, but the punishment has taken its toll, that's for sure. Dexy just doing everything in his power to try and stay inside the zone, but he's not going to be able to keep rolling in this one, as Vidil and Ju now leading the charge here on Ultimate Low. Doing a great job just to try and set up, maybe go for a pre-edit play here in a moment. I know that there's a player directly next to their wall, but it's really all about the ones that are starting to just come flying inwards from those overdrive grenades. Got to look every which direction here as Zengi and Belusi, secondary height currently. They might be some of the first to actually try and take a more aggressive stance here. They have some room to work with, a little bit of time to breathe.
Height has actually been overthrown, though. It's Hyper Robin now controlling the clouds. You can see Glubsheet Rack stuck in the zone. The knock comes through as Vidil and Ju are continuing to stay strong. Good heals, good mats. They've been controlling Low incredibly well, but another big duo is down there. Sakura Karama. The good news for them is Vidil and Ju, they're looking towards Height now.
But look at the chop from Vidil. That's going to force Zengi and Belusi, Braxton and Glubsheet to try and keep things moving. Zengi Belusi still deep overhead. They're going to start tarping upwards, but the build's just so incredibly low. A player like Vidil bound to be looking upwards, hoping to get another chop underneath his belt here is for Strokey Kido. Running into some problems on the low ground, forced to play from the backside of zone, but Kido gets caught in the mix, can't actually escape it. Gides doesn't even realize the shots are being sent in from Fastroki. That little bit of elimination, that little bit of material is just not going to be enough here, though, as he's claimed by the rest of the lobby. Vidil now playing with the mid hit, tinking up a little bit of Storm. They're going to have a late arrival, but it might just be that element of surprise needed. Tree going to cut off Vidil, though, in his attempt to try and take that frontside position. Still, even with a moderate drop, but Vidil caught off guard. Ju, he's got 5 eliminations already. How many more can he truly collect here? As Karama, no complaints whatsoever, taking Vidil's body in the process. But Karama still hoping to try and create a little bit of space, doesn't want to get caught out.
Akira took out both players down below, though. Akira Karama now are still looking healthy. The only players above them are solos. This is what we were expecting. This is what we've been waiting for Akira Karama, but Ju in the clouds gets taken out. Zangi bouncing as his teammates down below, out of mats, put into desperation, as all they can do now are hit their shots.
Ju was able to cause enough trouble, though, for the team on Height. Zangi just thrown completely to the wolves here now as Ghost buying so much time. Great shot, gonna connect here. Ghost has the chance. Big chunk out of Akira's shields, but it's going to be Akira and Karama who hold strong and find their footing here in Game 2. A nice victory royale to send them plenty upwards on the leaderboard.
Flawless performance. They held low perfectly. They never even got low on materials. Refresh after refresh. They were staying healthy. They had mats. They had eliminations. This is what we were looking for, Desk.
It is what we were looking for. I'm sure coaches Sky and Scroll will be very happy for our French duo right now. And of course, so will the Gentle Mates fans. It's looking good for these guys, and it was looking good all game, Levin.
I said give them time. I said they're warming into it, and people are trying to tell them, no, they ain't got time, they ain't got time. These guys have plenty of time. Because when you have a team like Sky and Scroll guiding you through the game, even beyond that, forget Sky and Scroll for a second, because they are the FNCS champs, you gotta give them their respect. Akira and Karama are a really good duo, and they've been a great duo this season at times, Minnie. It just hasn't materialized in the moments that I think mattered the most. And so again, it's good to see them, really comfortable in this lobby, it looks like, right? You see they're willing to make plays, they're not shying away from hard decisions, and they're hitting shots. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, it's really nice to see them sort of living up to their potential now in this lobby, and it's something that you'd expect. I mean, we spoke about it just at the end of the last game, that these guys have what it takes. They have the abilities, they have the minerals, if you like, to actually make it all the way here and qualify through to the summit. And it's going to be nice to see them there if they can actually make it, because of course those M8 fans, they go crazy. We saw them in Leon, and to have an M8 team at the summit would be absolutely fantastic. So for them right now, it's just going to be trying to stay as consistent as possible in this format, find themselves in that top 8, which realistically, when they've got Sky and Scroll by their side, shouldn't be a problem at all.
Okay, guys, have you forgotten that Merstash and Vanya are also mates players, and they're in the lobby too? Okay, we're heading to a break. We will see you very soon for game number 3.
Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive.
Two teammates have his back. Where's Nash? Gets the drop on the Marion. Stays alive. They're targeting out Vanya. 3v1.
I got healed quite a lot. I'm popping a medbit. Wait, short. Got 6 builds? Oh, maxed up. Wait, if you're mid, wait. 100! 100! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
And I don't know how to feel about it.
You're not used to losing. Getting beaten?
Not like this. These players are just so locked in.
Could it be the milk? Stay there.
Bienvenue at FNCS. Akira and Kurama did get the last victory royale, but can they remain consistent for the rest of the lobby tonight? We've got 4 more games, and then we'll be sending 8 European Duos across to Düsseldorf. Don't forget, get your tickets for the PSD Bank Dome in Düsseldorf for the May 30th and 31st if you would like to join us. And actually, I say this, May 29th, 30th.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've got weekend tickets, by the way, if you've already got weekend tickets, they include Friday now. So you get literally 3 days for the price of 2. So
Bargain.
definitely do not miss out. It is a bargain. It's a Barry bargain, as we like to say in the UK, or at least I like to say. But let's talk about what happened in that last game, guys. Because Bajil and Ju Mini Miner, they actually had a better session than the first game.
Yeah, we saw them in that first game. I think it was Surge ultimately that took them out in that very first game. They were sort of scrambling there. I think it was Vidil that ended up going down in the sort of mid-game section all the way back in Storm. The Surge was ticking as well. So it's actually really nice to see these guys actually finding their feet a little bit and at a good time as well, of course, in the second game. You don't want to leave it too late. But Levin, we spoke about this duo at the beginning. Vidil on fire. Ju has, of course, made the major finals as well. Didn't perform particularly well there. But this is a team that, on paper, you'd really expect to qualify through. So it's nice to see them coming alive.
Yeah, no, I was glad that they made something out of that game, especially because they were setting up for height, right? It looked that way at least, and maybe they messed up the shockwave, or maybe Vidil changed his mind, and that's when he ends up going down. But either way, again, this is a team I think we all want to see playing at the Major 1 Summit, so hopefully they can pick things up there.
Yeah, I mean, good to see where they can get to. Currently in 13th, but 23 places up in that last game, so anything can happen in the next 4. If we can look back at the top 10, though, because I don't want to dwell on Mr. Savage and Velo and the game that they just had, because it did take them out the top 10. We can see Pix and Ghost. Ghost pulled off a marvelous clutch in that last game, 11, and you can see the results in the standings.
Yes, I'm excited by these two because you have two, you know, again, very talented players, two players who I think have had, you know, their fair share of highs and lows over the, you know, course of the past sort of months. Pix in particular, right, sort of almost had a good thing going with Mustache and it never sort of, you know, kicked off into anything serious. And Ghost has been getting all the hype in the world, right, while he was playing with Tayson. Obviously, things didn't work out there. And so, again, finally, I guess, showing some of the talent we sort of said he had, right? I feel like we came into this FNCS mini going, trust me, guys, this Ghost guy's like, he's next up, man. Like, he's the one, he's the truth. And we never really got to see it except for now.
Yeah, we haven't really seen him in Endgame, of course. Playing with Taysom wasn't really that consistency that we were expecting from them when it came to making it to Endgame, so we never got to see those big pop-off moments from him. And now, of course, in this game too here, really nice to see him coming alive as well. I think you're right. This is a really nice mix of teammates here. This is a team that I think have a lot of fragging power, a lot of potential in that regard, but also have enough experience under their belt to take them through as well in picks.
I keep mentioning the fact we only have 6 games tonight. Our first game was won by Fito and Dexy. What happened to them in the last game, Levin?
I mean, it was a bit all over the place, right? I think we saw quite a bit happening, you know, sort of all over. I think the key thing with these guys is, again, we know they want to be a team that's aggressive on towards height. And so finding those right opportunities, you're going to see moments where if they don't want to play that way, right? Again, are they going to be as prominent? Are they going to be as strong? And I think that's going to be the big question mark for them, not just in this lobby mini, but moving forward as a whole.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's going to be, as I suppose the day goes on, it's going to be more and more difficult to play for those high ground positions as teams further on down try and make a play for it. Because remember, you don't get anything if you're not inside of that top 8. It's going to be really, really important for the players, of course, to get inside of that to make their spot known at the Major One Summit. So I think for them, playing height might not be the answer. Maybe it's time for them to play a little bit more mid ground and not go for those risky plays. But at least they made that mistake a little bit earlier on here.
It feels so punishing as well when you have got the high ground. Like Haido and Kaito, they were preparing for that zone pull, and Levin, it was such a shocker, that zone pulling away from them despite their best efforts.
Yeah, I'm actually curious to see what happened here to them, right? Because, again, zone pulls far, and you're thinking, okay, how are they going to react to this? And that was the moment where obviously Dexy and Kaito tried to come up. Kaito eventually sort of just gets chopped out there, and yeah, it's a tough one, right? The second that zone pulls like that, and it pulls max, and there's already teams ahead looking up at you, you're always just almost like a sitting duck at times, Minnie.
Yeah, you are. It's difficult because everyone's sort of looking up at you there, trying to spray you out. We've seen a lot of teams going down to that recently as well, and even taking the full damage there, not ideal. But a team that I'm actually really impressed by, really excited by, of course, 2 Germans as well. So a lot of the German fans will be hoping that they make it to the Major One Summit. But I remember they caused Sky and Scroll a few issues off spawn there, just to the north of Battlewood Boulevard. So they do have potential to cause some problems there. But I know, knowing the off spawn situation, it's not going to be easy for them to make those end games. So they need to make them count when they do.
Let's bring up the lobby list. Sorry, not the lobby list, the leaderboard, I should say. It's kind of the same thing in a way. I'm curious, I don't know if we can look at any of the later pages, because I just want to see which duos really do need to up their game before it's too late, if we are able to go to the 3rd page. Because if you are on the 3rd page, there is every chance in the next couple of games you could make your way into the top. Obviously, I mentioned Mr. Savage and Velo needing to have a better game. Kaito and Haijo, we know that they should be warmed up and ready to go. Podosai and Sato, they had a poor game last time, and you can see things can change so quickly if you do not have a consistently strong end game right now, Levin.
I mean, yeah, these guys just haven't made it to an end game, so it's not,
yeah.
You know, you got to make an end game before you start thinking about having consistently strong end games or just consistent end games at all. So hopefully we can see these guys, you know, sort of pick things up. I think Podosai and Sato, again, 2 well-established players who we know the talent, we've seen them do it at the highest level. Can they figure things out, though, as the games, you know, tick on by?
And the points are actually incredibly close right now. Even if you looked at that top 10, there's not much in it, so everything can change after Game 3 with Taco and Takata.
Look, at the first two lobbies have not gone in your favor. This is usually the part of the tournament where we start to expect some pretty big pivots to take place here at Takata, because it's essentially our halfway point. Lobby number 3. Teams don't have a whole lot of time. It's just kind of one of those now or never circumstances, and you've got to trust their gut sometimes.
No, this isn't like the first last chance qualifier where if you win a game, you're in. It is all about consistency here for the second chance qualifier. And after game 3, even game 4, if you're not on the upper end of the leaderboard, it is going to be incredibly difficult. But the good news is the battle bus is ready. So let's head on to game 3.
Some teams are really starting to get fired up as the day rolls on. Teams that haven't necessarily had the success, though, that they were hoping for. Again, this is a great midway point, but for Lusha and Hallie, this is the last thing you want to see. It's Zynox getting the better end of this exchange here at Riptides. We knew it was going to be a little bit rocky for the duos that were choosing contest here, but now Howley, their position on the leaderboard, so quickly threatened by just one off spawn. I mean, they were sitting in that 7th place position, heading into this 3rd lobby. All they want to see right now is survival. Look back, too, on what went wrong. It was just that immediate 50-50. Lusha doesn't get Twin Hammers. As a result, he's forced to just wait and see whether or not Howley can even bring this one back into his favor. But it'll be real tough from this point on, Takata. I mean, Vending's fully in control by Zynox. Not only that, but it is just so hard to go unnoticed out of Riptides and not run smack dab into another team. That's the real issue that I think Howley's gonna have to contend with.
A change-up at Latte Landing, though, and I'm not talking about a change-up in drops or players contesting. It's actually Ping and Wox being the team that has had the better drop this time around. In the previous game, they were kind of forced to swim away, but now it looks like Dexy and Fido are the ones that are put into a bit of trouble.
You say that, but Dexy and Vito have already had 2 pretty solid games. I mean, a 1st place, and granted, the 20th, not the best, but still enough to keep them within that top 5 portion of the leaderboard. They've built up a bit of a buffer. They don't have the same kind of pressure as a duo like Ping and Wox, who were just elim so early on. They haven't had placement. They haven't had anything to work with. So now other teams, Squibbly Shores, fight, didn't even draw out.
Adapted. Pressure's on now. 1 shot away. Is going to be able to make the escape. Tymo Ram doesn't look like they're interested in chasing it. As Adapted is kind of stuck now with the lurking game. Teammate down. Gonna have to go the reboot route, but Tymo Ram, they've got to make a big game happen here. You were talking about Ping Wox. There's another duo that just hasn't had a chance to make it to the end game, and the issue is already on the 3rd match. When you get to the end game at this point, if you don't have points on the board, you need to make a big game happen.
Lixiam, young French fragger, really trying to make a name for himself. Qualifying for LAN would certainly be a way to do it, but first they'll have to deal with the likes. There's Buka Hennessy, very scrappy. Start things off. Lixiam doing his best, though, try and fight back. Big shots exchanged both ways, but it's going to be XV who just barely manages to come out on top here. So now Plazi forced to just disengage, doesn't want to risk it, knows how important this 3rd match really is. Because you cannot afford another dudded lobby with only 3 left to really play through.
That was close too. The initial shot was onto XV, but it just wasn't enough damage. And right when they thought it was done, some more shots coming through from another team that was lurking in the surrounding areas. Speaking about lurking, Dexy, Fido, do Ping and Wox know it doesn't seem like it. This could be huge.
This is also part of the risk that's involved with not getting that immediate 50-50 off-spawn win. But, you know, Wox, they know. We didn't wipe them. We're going to have to deal with them eventually. They're not just going to forfeit Latte Landing just because we got the better drop. Vito. Crouch walking overhead. Walks. Trying to clear out some space. Underneath. Good news for both of these teams, though. Barco and Kire haven't decided to get involved just yet, but that might be the indirect measures that actually bode a little bit better there for Ping and Wox, because it would probably deter Dexy and Vito. There's a third party. Juice isn't really worth the squeeze at that stage.
For Skyjump and Momsy, though, they do have an Elim already. They've been dominant at Wonky, kicking off the day in the first 2 matches so far, and it's looking no different here in the third. I got high hopes for them.
Our community also definitely looking to try and cheer them on. Kurama and Akira doing a great job to kind of mimic the successes that we saw from Sky and Scroll in their Major 1 finals. But for Izzy and Nosif, Prism and Casper, this is a fight that could definitely drag out. That's the last thing you'd want. 4 fields, a little bit outskirts, far east. Can be a very difficult position because it's just not easy to build up hard materials from this spot. And so whatever mats are burnt out here, they're gonna have to be recovered somewhere eventually, and that somewhere else might be where other teams on the map decide to kind of base up, look for those surprise sneak attacks. So it's just very dangerous to go for these fights. But Bevies thought he was gonna get alert position. Instead, he just finds himself getting cleared out immediately. Doesn't even get the chance to escape here. Where's Axe Force? That's the only thing left to question. He's on the opposite end. Also, just 2 split from his duo. They thought they were gonna have the 1-up on this fight. Instead, they find themselves just hoping that they can even keep this lobby run going.
Not a good look. Didn't even have the chance to place a build. Axe Force now is in a world of trouble. We'll see where this zone does close in the next 5 seconds, but Bevies and Axe Force, they're gonna have to be playing comeback now.
At least with 5 slices of pizza, Axe Force can afford to tank up a little bit here, but that reboot is just going to be the bat signal for everybody else in the lobby that's on that eastern portion of the map to just try and take him out of the skies. Velo and Savage. A little bit of a stumble in game 2. Rough zone for them to work with. When it pulled towards that lower elevation, it just left them a little bit more exposed than they would have liked to have been on their rotate in. Still, this south section, Frigid Fortress, it's got enough for them to try and make some magic happen here in game 3, maybe.
It was that 7th zone surge. It's getting the best of a lot of these teams. Savage Velo being one of them. But once they make it past that, I mean, the end game, it's more their element. Rax, Glubsheet, we've talked about how close they were in the finals, and now once again, they are incredibly close, being the cutoff, the qualifying here in 8th place at 94 points going into the match. So all they've got to do is hold on.
Zarek probably wishing this duo would leave him alone, but when you are a solo with only 6 materials, there's just nothing left. 6 builds, Amplify Ein, they should be able to confirm another 4 points here. Zarek doesn't get the shot that he needs to, so Xantify and Ein will be able to find 8 in total to start things off, but still a bit of an uphill battle. You never know where other teams might be lurking. Edra hidden inside the bush, and if you're not checking your bushes, that's when things can get dicey right now.
They've got a timer, though. It's their HP. They're going to be forced to use something, so they have to take the shots now before the splashes have to come through, giving away their position. The issue is not enough shots, honestly, were connected for how worth it could have been. And now when they're forced to build up out of zone, this is where the danger can increase.
Problem is, if these duos actually commit to fighting each other for too long, both of them not really having a whole lot of white heals to work with. It could just be a fight over the vending machines themselves, but it's really just that delay to the rotation into zone. We've seen so many times before already in these past 2 games even how difficult it is for teams to actually make it inside the edge of zone. So when you're stuck out in the storm for way too long, you don't get that dead side approach. You are just a walking target. It's JSN managing to find good elimination there for him and Skozr. Nice little refresh, every little bit helps here. And that leaves Recho in a really awkward position now. Has to try and figure out whether he can even 1v2 duo just over ahead of him. But with how much foot traffic is actually local Sandy Strip right now, it's not really in his best interest to try and force this engagement. He's just hoping that he can do enough to prevent Skozr and JSN from closing in. Maybe the rest of the lobby is enough of a deterrence. They don't want to give up their positioning just yet.
Northeast zone. There's a lot of big names around that area. I'm hoping that we see moving forwards here. So far though, Jason and Co. I mean, they've got spare loot, spare heals. Just trying to kind of play the waiting game. There's so many more sneaky plays with Net Surge coming into play. You gotta be extra aware these days. It's one of the most crucial things to keep in mind. Nexteria adapted. 123 below is the Buell Porhala. I'm hoping they're aware.
It's either going to be them leaving or somebody trying to exit the Surge base here. Might be the Buell, but they won't go for it just yet. Nexteria and Adapted, they're going to have to make a decision. They only had that shield fish. That's not going to be the white heal that you need. And for Porhala and the Mule, finally, scenes are going to reveal themselves. Adapted, going to try and open things up, at least able to take over at the top of the Surge base, which means that they are going to be able to steal away some of those medkits potentially, but it's the damage that they're after. Only 12 above. They know that they need even more. They don't want to find themselves truly threatened here, but that right-side peek from Porhala, of course, Adapted to back up just for a moment here. The Buell is still relatively low, staring, trying to see if he can find an angle. But the constant ticks between just above and just below is a very uncomfortable position right now for Nexteria and Adapted. They're going to need closure. And for Hala and Daviel, probably not happy with the fact that this duo is actually chosen to try and sneak up on them like that. Might just be waiting for a chance to pounce.
Yeah, still just bouncing above, below, above, below. Currently at 34, but if we look at Bahara and Buell, they are a lot more in the safe range. Nexteria, though, Adapted. Great job connecting some shots. This actually should be enough to give them a bit of time to breathe now. The flow mist is going to come through. They should be able to recuperate their shield. And now just have to find a way to make it back to zone without the Buell Porhala beaming them.
I didn't see any overdrive grenades, Takada, and that might be part of the problem for that duo. Even if you are above on Surge, if you don't have any mobility, it's difficult to really make use of it. Playing catch up to the rest of the lobby. Ali, Lusha, starting to make their move in. Khan and Faded incredibly split from each other. Don't know if they even realize that Faded is stuck behind them, healing in a box. That's going to leave Faded just so exposed. But finally, Nexteria Adapted looking to see if they can close things out. But Porhala refusing to budge with that Buell, and that's going to force Nexteria to be sent packing. I don't even know if he's going to be able to make it to the venting in time. He's just trying to see if he can get the heals going. And for Porhala and that Buell, though, it's been a bit of spoiler having to deal with that duo. All that surge that they've just been above. Now they find themselves nestled slightly below, and Nexteria still choosing to send shots towards that Buell. But he is just so far out, Takada, from where he needs to be. And as a solo now, 3 bandages. The ticks from zone going to be way too much to deal with here. These duos have essentially just costed each other at this stage.
The Buell goes down now on the venting. Borhara left alone, and as the storm ticks come through, there's just one tick left. As Borhara gets eliminated, Howley as well playing as a solo. So many devastating Surge teams going down. I don't even know what you do if you're Howley here. He's got Synox close by. Skyjump Mom, so you don't want to let the attention come to them, but this is it. It's all or nothing. Still 92 below, 3 pizza slices left. Are you going to try and tank it, Howley? Are you going to play aggressive?
He doesn't have a choice. He has to fight. The lobby is nowhere near thinning itself out enough for the Surge to be alleviated from him anytime soon. He's just trying to find an isolated solo. He doesn't want to actually deal with a healthy duo, because even one knock, one elimination, a little bit of Siphon, that could be the difference maker here. Need some space, but Haruko Akire to continue wrapping around the same mountain face. They're not going to leave any openings, no cracks to shoot through, as Howley bailed out by the net Surge jumps. But one slice of pizza, 10 builds, no mobility, and a zone that is pulling up, drastically shifting elevation. It's not looking good, if I'm being realistic, but you never know. We've seen players come back from worse. Fortunately for Savage and Velo, though, they are in a much better position, trying to set up for a very big comeback on their endgame run. They didn't get a chance to play it out in the secondary lobby, but with the way that this zone is pulled much more heavily in their favor, this would be their best chance to try and net some big points.
This is the exact zone that Savage and Velo had difficulties with as well in the prior matches. So seeing them almost 300 above, looks like they're making something work. Ali has gone down. Raju and Vidil now, they're also above, so a lot of changes. I mean, keep in mind, the zone has pulled towards where Savage and Velo drop. For Vidil and Ju, on the other hand, they have had a little bit of a rotate, so it's good to see them feeling pretty confident here.
Ju, definitely one of those players where you let him get one elimination, you let him get another, he just continues to keep the ball rolling. Certainly a momentum-based player, but a lot of teams starting to really get caught out currently. Again, the shifting elevation changes. It is brutal when you are trying to decide, do we work our way up the mountain? Do we try to build up this hill face? Do we try to stick halfway or nestle into ultimate low? Mustache, Vanya, slightly lower position here.
You always want to prepare for the most difficult rotate. So if there's a possibility that it's going to pull up the hill, it's good to kind of play at least halfway up. So if that does happen, you're ready to make the rotate happen. Kiro Pastrocki now 6 below. Overdrive comes through. Shots connect. Zovsky, can Pastrocki make it into zone now, though? They've done the damage. Just 76 above. They're going to need more. Quickly drop to 6. Just 10 ticks on the Chug Chug left. The Flowberry or Flow Mist on the ground.
Look, they don't have anything to work with here. They're going to have to crash out into somebody's box. They need to get aggressive. They can't pick and choose. The clock steadily ticking against them right now. Teams caught a little bit more towards that backside of zone, but Akira and Karama, they wanted to be here in the first place. They were waiting for their chance to strike. They're going to start trying first from the low ground, but they're tarping up, they're ramping up, waiting to see where the rest of the lobby is sort of settling into. They have the luxury of picking and choosing their targets compared to everyone else, but Savage and Velo might have to duke things out. The duo just on the other side of their wall. Savage trying to get aggressive here. One good shot gonna connect onto Ein, who's sent packing, but Velo still looking for more. A lot of tags going inwards, but they're not able to actually claim the eliminations. The lobby actually taking care of some of those goodies that could have been theirs. Start to shift, start to work towards that front side. Velo loses a good chunk of his HP. Has the heals to recover it though. But Vidil and Ju are definitely setting up nicely currently. Vanya and Mustache though, trouble has struck at the worst possible timing because this drastically shifting elevation is gonna force Vanya to leave Mustache behind. Can't even attempt to play for the revive. Instead gonna have to use his last pizza take every single one of those slices, tank up a little bit of Storm, and hope that he can find some form of recovery from the backside of the zone.
Prototype Sado, though, this is the match that they needed. They didn't kick off the day strong, but now they were able to pick up 7 eliminations. Podosai is left alone, though, and Velo as well, once again. You solo clutched game 1, Velo. You weren't happy with your Heat's performance. You have a second chance, your final opportunity with a big knock. Make it count.
That's the delivery he needed, though. The siphon from Ju is going to ruin things for Fadil and Ju, but that's going to be the silver lining here currently for Velo. A chance to wait and see where everyone else is kind of moving in front of him. So many pizza slices left to work with, too, taking up these ticks of Storm. Now, recognizing high ground, a little bit distracted here. He's going to make his move in. Managed to go without having to tank up too much pressure from the high ground team. And he's actually front side of elevation here on this hill face. Looking back, Fadil could be a victim here. Velo recognizing that's a player that's gone down, but is being gonna run smack dab into the center of where Velo is facing. Doesn't realize he can maybe try and claim body loot off the sky jump. Didn't get a chance to actually see.
You talked about it. Ping Walks, they went down in the early in the first matches. This is the first endgame we've actually seen them in, and they have to make an impact. They cannot afford to not have a massive game here. But meanwhile, you have players like Akira Karama on the low, an incredibly healthy duo, facing off against the solos as shots continue to come through.
What a clutch, though, from Poda's side to find himself in a top 4 position. Ping and Walks, though, they're looking for target practice. Akira and Karama scrambling to try and stay towards that front side of zone. Velo caught in the middle, just sandwiched between 2 healthier duos, and he'll finally be brought down. But top 3 is exactly what him and Savage needed. Now, Walks, Pingu, Karama, Akira challenging each other for the high ground. It's going to be Karama and Akira to bring it back yet again. Victory Royales couldn't look better because they are scaling their way very comfortably into that first place position on the leaderboard.
The back-to-back consistency, not only coached by Sky and Scroll that had an average placement of 4 in the Div Cups leading into this, and now Akira Karama are doing the same. Desk, this is getting crazy.
C'est fou, encore plus pour Akira and Karama. Congratulations to the Gentlemates. They have done it again, and they've done it in style, Mini Miner.
Yes, they have. Really excited to see these guys. I mean, winning back-to-back games. We knew what they could do. We know what these guys are all about. We know the talent that they have, and they don't need the high ground. They can do it down there on the low ground. Really, really great stuff from them. And this lobby, it's too easy for them, Levin, really.
I know we said they were being coached by Sky and Scroll, but did anybody check if it was Sky and Scroll playing? I mean, right now what I'm seeing from these guys is complete and utter control of the low ground. They understand when to take it, when to cut off teams, when to tank it, and use that space to fight. Does this not reminisce of Sky and Scroll fighting in the back top of the weekend we just watched? I mean, it looks quite similar to me. Regardless, I'm excited for these guys because it's been a community sentiment. I think everybody wants to see the Gentlemates fans show up again and do their thing in Dusseldorf. And for them to be able to do what they did last year with all of the different international duos they had, for them to be cheering on a French duo in Akira and Karama, 2 of the best, the French scene has seen in some time, I think that'd be really exciting. And with back-to-back wins, a solid first game as well, like they're gonna be looking comfortable now.
Well, we're going to head to a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing the next 3 games. Don't go anywhere.
Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive.
2 teammates have his back. There's Nash. Gets the drop on Marius. Stays alive. They're targeting out Vanya. 3v1.
got healed before at all. I'm popping a med bit. Wait, so. Got 6 build? No, maxed up. Wait, if you're mid, wait. 100? 100? Oh my god, look! Oh my god! Oh my god! And I don't know how to feel about it.
You're not used to losing. Getting beaten?
Not like this. These players are just so locked in.
Could it be the milk? Stay there.
Welcome back to FNCS. This is the second chance qualifier, and Akira and Kurama have got the memo. They just got back-to-back victory royales, and they're sitting proud at the top of the leaderboard. But they're also accompanied by another French duo sitting below them in second. We have Skyjump and Mumsy. So far, a great night for the French, and a great night for us as well. We've got 3 more games of Fortnite to go. And if we take a look at the standings, you'll see from that last game that Vidil and Ju Mini Miner have managed to climb within contention, within the top 8. And remember, we're sending 8 duos to Dusseldorf tonight.
Yeah, it's another good game for Vidil and Ju. They had a bit of a wobbly start to the day, going down to the Surge, and of course in the Storm they had a bit of trouble there, but back-to-back end games for them. 7th place in this particular one, a few eliminations as well. And again, we spoke about it at the beginning of the day. These guys have all of the experience to qualify on through here, all of the talent, and Vidil here was managing to solo clutch up a couple of extra placements as well. So well done to these guys.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see these guys continue to heat up, especially if we can get, one of them, real good Vidil solo clutch games. Or one from Ju. We know Ju has it in him as well.
I was going to say, Ju's been on his own a couple of times, and he's been performing. And you know what? Mr. Savage and Velo, talking of performing, Velo has been holding on for dear life to get those all-important placement points, Levin.
We said he might have to do it, and I think he is rising to the occasion. Truly showing the lobby no remorse at times in this game. I definitely think if he can continue to play like this, not only will they deserve a spot at Dusseldorf, but they will be definitely one of those strong teams on day 2 who you could see, working your way into the final. At the end of the day, right, obviously, we talked about the concerns we would have with this duo. Mr. Savage, obviously, again, are they going to be as locked into the meta? Are they going to be as comfortable? Can they be as consistent? You don't need to be. If you can just keep doing what they're doing right here and just hitting all the shots needed, right? Savage goes down, and Velo, again, he's just in his flow state, it feels like.
Just so good in these endgame moments, flicking, hitting shots, finding players, finding these little sneaky positions to hide in as well. It's something that I think a lot of players that are maybe newer to this sort of level of lobby wouldn't necessarily do. He's very confident, very calm in those endgame situations, and that's exactly what you need at this stage. So hopefully for them now, this is a great sign of things to come when it comes to the Major One Summit.
I wonder if we can see page 2, because I'm curious to see who else is currently able to make a jump into that top 8. You see Howley and Lusher there. This is a duo that I'm definitely expecting to be back on that top 10 page at some point tonight, Levin, because they're a team that we associate with consistently making to the end game.
Yeah, for sure. Again, I talked about how, they have some of the most screen time, it feels like, in this FNCS Major. We've seen a lot of them. And at times, for the most part, it's been quite positive. And so hopefully it'd be a shame to see them sort of fall away now at this final opportunity here. So hopefully they can, pick up the pace a little bit. Maybe we got to get them back on hype, Mini. Maybe that's the solution.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was looking at 12th there as well. Podosite and Sato moving up 19 places. We haven't really seen them throughout today. What did they get there? It was a 4th. We saw, of course, Podosite clutching up there at the end. 8 eliminations for them as well. We know what these guys are capable of. We know what they can do on paper. They just haven't necessarily been showing it so far today. But that last game, hopefully for them, another sign of things to come. And maybe we'll have a top 3 that's all French. We'll have to wait and see.
And Ping and Wox, guys, are now in 20th. They finally made it to the end game, Mini Miner.
Yeah, nice to see these guys in endgame as well. Of course, they've had some struggles in the early game stages of the games here for them. It's not been easy for them. 2nd place in this game. Nice to see them come alive, Levin. Again, 2 fantastic players on paper. We just haven't got to see the full extent of what these guys can do. But realistically, you should expect these guys to qualify through.
I think the fun thing about this game was that it very much looked like the Ping and Wox games of old that we used to see from them in 2024, right? Where they sort of like, it's time to drop down on height and get aggressive and you know, they'll do what they need to do. Of course, it doesn't translate into the win there, but more of that from them, I think, will definitely make things interesting as we head into the back half of the tournament.
I
they
don't
were
think
last.
I was about to say, I
looking
don't
at
think I've seen a duo go up 30 places in one game alone, but it's proof that they are going to be able to get within contention if they can ace these last 3 games. We're halfway through tonight's lobby before we decide our final 8, and I feel like this is a duo that's perfectly capable of that. The question is, though, are they equally experienced, in fact, even more experienced rivals, Mustache and Vanya? Are they capable of doing the same? They went up 8 places in that last game, but again, they're not making it deep into the end game still, Mini Miner.
That's the problem. I think they have the potential for it, and I think they have the potential to do exactly what Ping and Wox just did. But the problem is, as these games keep going on, it just makes it less and less possible. I think if we were in a sort of last chance qualifier, win and you're in type format, I'd still be backing them. I'd say, yeah, I can see it. Game 5, Game 6, Mustache and Vanya find themselves in a really nice position on dead side of zone or something, build up to height and win the game. But right now, with how they're playing, they're running out of time.
Yeah. Again, I don't want to say I'm losing faith, but the window of opportunity is certainly closing on these guys. And so if there isn't some sort of a big pop-off game sort of now, you know, you got to start really looking and considering whether or not top 8 is going to be that possible for them. We need to see more. We definitely need to see more from these 2.
It feels like it would be so disappointing to not see them on LAN. I mean, the fact that we have this 2nd chance qualifier should be an opportunity that these guys should be grasping. But Vanya's already played with Vox. He's already played with Ping this season. Mustache didn't even make it to the heats of Major 1. These are 2 players we cannot concede making it to LAN. Yet on paper this season, Mini Miner, it's not going to happen.
I mean, it's a shame, really, because I suppose when you look at both of their perspectives, they've had a really rough season overall, and I suppose that's really played with them mentally. It's not something that they're necessarily experienced in a very, very long time. So coming into today, maybe they did have those doubts in the back of their mind. Are we actually capable here? Because both of them individually just haven't had that great of a year.
Well, they are capable individually. We know that. We know that they put together this duo at the last moment. Will it be enough in these next 3 games? Let's head back to Taco and Takata.
Thanks, Frankie. Look, this is a big match. Currently, we have 2 French duos in 1st and 2nd place. If we look outside of the top 8, we just had a very solid performance from Ping and Wox. Now, the issue is they're contested. First 2 games basically got 0 points, I think. Now, they made it happen when they got to the end game. But with these final matches coming through, I don't know if they can afford another 0-point match, Taco.
They definitely can't. I think it's one of those situations where when you look at the 6th through 14th teams on the leaderboard, they're all just within that 20-point range of each other. So we've got to wait and see who's actually going to come out on top here in Game 4, because the lobby's ready to roll.
It's starting to get exciting here. But also the pressure is starting to get felt. We'll see if they're able to make something happen.
Teams all starting to make their way. Kind of just waiting to see whether or not this aggressive situation that has just been building non-stop over by Riptides continues to take place. Well, Shahali know it's their position on the leaderboard. It's up in the air right now. It's gonna be the catalyst moment for them if they're able to find a concise finish here. Not have any sort of delays for the rest of their game plan. That could be what really helps them push closer and closer for that top 8 position on the leaderboard.
You don't get 2 days of competition here in the second chance qualifier. You get 6 matches. It's not a top 20, it's a top 8. You cannot afford to lose these early games. And speaking of it, Vito now has been knocked. Hanging walks. They're looking to make it a 2-2 in terms of who wins this early game. Both duos at Latte have made it count when they get out of Latte Landing as the winners of the early game fight. But this time, Ping and Walks, they once again have the upper hand.
Say upper hand, but really what they're trying to make sure of is that Dexy and Fido can't intervene with their later strategies. Walk's gonna make sure to finish off with Ping it started. That's gonna send Fido trying to look for a different line of sight. Health advantage, though, very heavily in Walks' favor, and Walks will open up and immediately bring Fido down. That is going to be the biggest opening shots here. First off spawn that they also win here, Takada. Last game, a little bit more of a split.
That's gonna be big, Ping and Walks, but I mean, we talked about in the finals in 12 days, it was like, how many end games do you have to make? It's hard to come up with the calculations for a 6-game competition like this, but I'd say you have to make at least 3 or 4 end games and perform very well in them to get top 8. So Ping and Walks, now that they've had a second chance at a strong end game, they're gonna need to get another top 5, and if they do, we'll see how it continues forwards.
Ideally, they get a top 5, and it might help them a little bit further still, knowing that they're not going to have to split any of their loot with Dexy and Fido along the way. Plus, it allows them better opportunities to try and go for a dead side rotation off of the pad there, since it won't be contested. Kurama, Kira, they've been putting up a Major 1 Champions performance in today's lobby. They are, I want to say, pretty much given for that top 8 in consistency because of the lead that they have established here. 232 points. 95% odds right now that we're going to see these two on Dusseldorf, but that doesn't mean that they can afford to take it easy. You still want to play your games through as consistently as possible. Don't leave it up to chance. Right now, their fate is fully in control of their own hands.
Switching back over to Riptides. Ald's Lyric up against Synox and Co. Good news for them is there's no kind of deals in the surrounding area, so should be no uninvited guests to this early fight, but you really don't want it to stagger for too long.
All these Athletics, Voldex, Synox. Bit of a stalemate currently. Riptides. Looks like they might have company sooner rather than later, but as the storm pulls in, they'll be left. Try and fight it out for a little bit longer here. It's Mr. Savage and Velo. They're just looking to see whether or not they can play an endgame as a duo pairing. We've seen some great solo clutches from Velo now, managing to find 3rd place and a 9th place finish, but it would be better still if Savage was right there with him.
My only concern is that they did very good last game in terms of Surge, especially on that 7th zone where they had difficulties originally, but the zone also pulled very heavily in their favor. So I'm hoping, you know, if it does end up being a far zone pull for them, they can still get the damage that they need on the rotate. Skyjump Momsy, though, this might be the first match where they haven't kind of got out of eliminations off the start. They've been a little contested, a little not, but they've been dominant in terms of always coming out of their drop with elims, with loot. And it looks like it's going to be no different here, seeing that they're on con.
the damage has been done. Skyjump and Mumsy have won the off spawns that they've had to deal with. They've gotten aggressive also. The team's kind of hanging out towards the outskirts of Wonky Land. No one should be going wonky from this point forward, okay? Skyjump and Mumsy have proven that they are strong enough fighters that they can force anyone out of this lobby. Not even just the POI, but the lobby itself. And that's just not worth risking when you are one of those teams that needs a solid endgame conversion, because the leaderboard just continues to pull further and further away for all of those teams that are not even within the top 20.
Yeah, I mean, Levin was mentioning it. With the cutoff already being 113 points, if you're at that lower end, this is literally the match where you have to make it count. If you want to have a good chance at getting top 8, now's the time to lock in. But if you're Belusi Zangi, pretty comfortably sitting in top 3, playing it how you have been in the previous matches, they haven't really had difficulties in the early game. They've went down 10th, 17th, 3rd. They're making it to these end games. It's just trying to consistently place in them.
But they still don't have enough of a buffer zone to escape top 6. Seventh and 8th. I mean, 118 to 146. One early game departure for Belusi and Zangi, and suddenly you find yourselves really trying to scramble yet again. So, yeah, all they're really trying to net right now is just making sure that they find at least top 15 performances from this point on. It's never easy, though. You never know just how many duos are going to start drastically shifting their strategies. And Pix, Ghost, Pix especially, I think, his former trio mates, Armin Demish, they've already confirmed their position for the Major One Summit LAN. Pix hoping to do the same.
Harukokire, Spanish representation. They started off in 2nd place, but then quickly dropped down after getting a 31st with 4 eliminations. But the good news is, in the last match, they got top 8 and 3. So that puts them in top 5 currently. But like you said, it's not enough of a buffer zone for these teams. Now, I didn't quite see what went wrong for that 31st place, but if they were able to get a top 10 in both of the other matches, pretty confident that we can see them in the end game once again.
I had to guess it's probably got something to do with the way that these zones have been pulling over this shifting elevation. It's really tough when you're having to just burn through so much material, scaling up the mountain face, then going right back down it. So many players, when they lose their duos, you know, they like to sit about those halfway points and look for those pick-off opportunities. Ju and Vidil, though, contested Humble Hills to open the day, but other teams might have different intentions here. Axe Force and Bevies continuing to get scrappy. 3 eliminations already. This is very much ramping up to be a circumstance for Bevies and Axe Force where they've realized we don't just need a strong placement, we need a lot of eliminations to go with it if we really want to play catch-up.
Yeah, I mean, we did see Ping and Walks go up 30 placements in a single match. Now, it took a really big game, but this is the big game you need if you're Axe Force and Bevies right now. From 45th place, it's almost an all or nothing here in this match, so hopefully we see the confidence come through. Looking at Ping Walks, though, they've rotated west from Latte to Wonky. Great zone for them. We'll see where this next one does close the 4th, but Maku and Co, they don't want to get into too much trouble. They've already got Elam on the board.
Ping and Walks are really also just trying to make sure that they avoid the likes of Mumsy and Skyjump. But the way that the zone has pooled, might just be looking to kind of tuck themselves away in a spot where they can utilize that Wonky Land wheel for a solid rotation after the fact, but you never want to overstep your welcome. You never want to encroach on somebody else's territory, because like we've already pointed out, Skyjump and Mumsy, they have been the absolute leaders of Wonky Land today.
Yeah, they don't like letting people in their drop. We'll hope that, you know, we're far enough into the match that they don't start going super aggressive, but great spot they've got on the wonky wheel. No reason really to give it up. Now, the only issue without having those eliminations off the rip that they've had previously is, they're going to have to get a bit more tags. But good news, all the teams rotating in, they're primed up in position, they're elevated. They even have the rotation with the wonky wheel when needed. So I don't think we'll see too many issues for them. Senet and Giras dropped very close as well to where we are right now. So I expect these teams that are on this side of the map to have a big game here.
We start to see the zone pull a little bit closer towards that old Stumpy landmark. Takada holding height could get very shaky with the way that teams are able to kind of build off of those huge trees and whatnot. Cabal, though, Glubshi, both left as solos. They've got quite a ways to go before they even make it into the edge of zone, and if either of them wants to try and make that reboot play happen, they've still got to make up so much ground. It's just going to cause such a massive delay on their overall game plans.
Podesai and Sado, this is another duo that got a lot of points in the last match, from a 22nd to a 34th. And now in the recent match, they got 4th place, 8 eliminations, all the way up to 100 points. They're feeling a lot more comfortable now, but they still need another good game to solidify themselves in qualifying range. Not as much pressure on their shoulders, but the way it's looking right now, I think they can make something happen.
I don't know about no pressure. I'd say it's a lot of pressure, especially for Podesai. I mean, I know that he's got the Heart of Gentlemage cheering him on, regardless of the outcome here, but such an established veteran in the EU scene, you don't want to see him miss out. He doesn't want to miss out. There's so much riding on this LAN qualification right now. And despite them being a newly formed duo, maybe that French camaraderie might just be what it takes to help kind of push Podesai and Sado just in to that top 8 metric for the leaderboard.
Yeah, they got 20th, 19th in the heats. And honestly, the first matches, I thought we'd see more of them having Oncon, Frozen Shard. But at least, they had their opportunity in the last match to bump themselves up. Let's hope no more mistakes are made. This is the lowest surge I've ever seen for Akira and Kurarama.
I was gonna say, kind of shifting back to the real Gentlemates representatives. It's so odd just thinking about Podesai no longer on that org, but still definitely has the heart of France with him. Kira and Karama, though, definitely looking excellent heading into this next zone. Prism, Casper, they're gonna need a little bit more hustle into this. 50 below, not too far enough away that they can't convert it into just above on that surge metrics, but I'd rather find that damage sooner versus later as they start to move in. Great awareness right now from Savage and Velo, trying to keep Casper and Prism at bay. They also were successful in getting at least one of those tags, dropping them to 124 below now, but never know. Desperate times call for desperate measures here. For Casper and Prism, they don't have much more than the Chug Jugs, some shields to try and recuperate, so they're gonna look to force this fight now.
Yeah, getting up close and personal. Savage and Velo. I'm not sure how desperate Savage Velo are for Surge. It looks like they got a bit of tag, so they should be pretty comfortable here. One of the big things is just not letting shots get connected onto you, but just 75 above isn't exactly the position you want to be in here. One shot is all it would take to put them down below. You don't want to take those risks when you know your opponents are already getting ticked. They're about to get cracked. It's better to play the waiting game.
They might also get the audio cue with how close Casper and Prism are of those shields being cracked. They can't know that Casper and Prism are under Surge, but they can maybe anticipate it. How desperately Casper's trying to get this angle off onto Savage. Prism gonna look to provide a little bit of backup here now, but Casper lost his shield entirely. He's gonna have to resort to using up some of that Chug Jug now. Savage still waiting so patiently. 104 above. It's enough. They're gonna open up the edits now, take some shots as Casper and Prism realizing the lobby kind of closing in on them now. Aku gonna be one of the first to run their direction, but Fadil can't escape Surge and just deep inside of that storm, not gonna be able to make it in.
From top 6 to going down before the end game has even begun. That's not gonna be fun for Deal and Ju continuing on the later section of this day. Casper now is above. Issue is, lost his teammate, lost all his heals basically, not in the zone. A world of panic now as he rotates back in. Ping and Walks. You can't afford to go down early here. There's 2 games, you basically got no points. Now that you're closer to the end game once again, you need to have a big match.
Walks is looking for the shot, but he just can't make it work. At least not right then and there. Kira and Karama still doing a decent job. Just continuing to extend their lead right now. Ping and Walks, though, under so much pressure right now. It feels like teams are looking at them from every which way. Teams on height, teams underneath. Might just have to force an engagement if they really want to keep scaling up this hill face. They realize that Casper's a solo. That might be one of their better opportunities here, as now Sinet and Gires just 6 below. And it just keeps toggling back and forth. But now with Gires having been claimed by the lobby, it's gonna be Casper who was trying to make a desperate play for placement, but Sinet gonna be the one to come out on top here. Still 202 below though on the surge. And as a solo, even with a pizza slice, even with the chug jug, he's gonna have to hope that 9 other players go down before him.
Yeah, full opposite side zone rotate. Not gonna be easy, but Ping has gone down. Walks is left alone, 260 below. This is not what we wanted to see coming from the success they just had in the most recent match. Walks is gonna have to make a play of a lifetime here, and it's already starting off with an elimination, but the journey for Walks has just begun as he goes down. The Buell as well falling shortly after. I do see Savage Velo though. They're looking good.
Walks might have just made it in to placement, didn't get a chance to see, but those 4 elimination points, at least he netted something in that position. Savage and Velo, though, they definitely want to try and convert this into another top 5 performance, if possible. Akira, Karama. Just waiting
5
to leave.
eliminations.
They got more than enough time. The luxury of choosing, and just doesn't seem like anybody's going to be able to intervene. They will manage to take a frontside position now. Start working their way up the hill. Solo overhead. Not going to be scouted out just yet, though. Lucy and Zangi, the duo, looking to try and make it towards that front side. They can see some of the solos trickling in. But for Savage and Velo, all they want to do is maintain a position towards that front side of zone. Slightly elevated from the rest of the congestion of the lobby. Momsy and Skyjump, on the other hand, they're looking back, waiting to collapse.
Ooh, just 11 builds on Momsy, though. Gonna have to find a refresh soon. Issue is, shots being connected, 42 shield, 42 HP. The big pot is gonna get used, as neither player now has any heals left. Skyjump with 0 builds. They are going to have to make their way into a box, do anything they can to find a refresh. Savage and Velo, though, the big matches they had have been solo clutches from Velo. This could be the chance for them to play together.
They've already got an elimination apiece for each other, and still choosing to look back. They can tell some players in this lobby are definitely struggling here. Savage gonna make the first departure from their position. Grab some of that loot. Overdrive grenade, send him forward. Backside of the zone. Can be a little bit fickle to play through, but some materials, they'll be able to make it work. Karama and Akira, they just have so many heals in these low layers, but Savage gets caught out. Sato and Podesai on the high ground right now, though. They have not been content with their position on the leaderboard. They want to see if they can draw that lead further upwards. Velo try to see if he can make something happen here, but one more time, gonna be sent left to his own devices. Big shot gonna connect, and already Velo gonna get the ball rolling here, but Zangi, despite finding such a nice elimination, Velo doesn't even get a chance to celebrate it. Still, it's points, it's some placement, it's something to contend with here as Podesai and Seda now very firmly on height.
The last match, they got 4th place. Before that, though, they were in the bottom end of the leaderboard. If they can get top 5 once again, it might just be enough to push them into the top 8. from the bottom to the top, now controlling the height. The issue is there's danger on low. They want to get a hat trick, the back-to-back-to-back. Akira Kuraruma looking incredibly healthy, dominating the low ground as Sado now is put into a bit of pressure up above. Shots getting connected, but still holding on to height.
This is just so reminiscent, though, of Sky and Scroll's performance, playing through those low ground layers, taking advantage of the duos that get a little bit too separated, solos that don't have anything to work with and are forced to just play in those lower tiers. Sado doesn't have the HP, though. The challenge for height is good to go. Seren and Pixovsky, now is your time to strike. Seren still gonna opt to fall just a little bit closer to see where the rest of the lobby is sort of funneling into, but the damage has been done. Podesai is going to be eliminated. Pix now trying to see if he can find any form of an elimination, but with Pixovsky from overhead choosing to just apply so much pressure, it is so problematic. Kurama might not have a whole lot of builds to work with, but he does have some Siphon materials that he could potentially pick up from all of those players stuck inside of the low ground layers.
It looks like it might just end in a 2v2. Seren and Pixovsky, though, they've got the upper hand in terms of positioning. Actually, Kuraruma now is left alone. 2 solos down below, a duo up above. This is the first match Pixovsky and Seren have been in the top 10.
Look, either these solos are going to clash head-to-head, or Pixovsky and Seren are just going to look to swoop in for the finishing blows. It's all about Kurama right now, though. 8 eliminations already. Can he make it 9? He's just looking to try and capitalize on this other solo that's running around the low ground with him. But it's going to be Pixovsky who finds Pix first. Still a great top 3 finish there for Pix and Ghost. Doesn't matter if it happened as a solo, the points come in all the same here. And with the high ground pulling over this hill face, Takada, it's looking like Pixovsky and Seren are going to close this one up.
Akira Kurama had the chemistry, just as Sky and Scroll did. The only thing they're missing now is the solo clutch potential. Both Sky, both Scroll, they did it in the finals. They did it all throughout the year. Let's see if Kurama has that as well.
It's a waiting game right now, though. Seren doesn't have any white heals. Kurama actually had those pizza slices, the Chug Jug to work with. The spoils of their efforts here right now. Kurama content to just sit deep inside of the storm. Seren and Pixovsky, they're hoping, they're wondering, when's this guy gonna actually show his face? Seren now gonna be sent on a lone wolf mission to see if he can find where Kurama is at, but he's got this stockpile of goodies. Seren is already down, 10 left in the Chug Jug, and Pixovsky can't figure out where he's at. Kurama with the hat trick on a victory royale finish, just excellently played through that endgame.
I am speechless. I really don't even know what to say anymore. Akira Kuraruma, they are playing at a whole other level. I mean, this is absolutely incredible. I need Frankie Levinmini to take it away because I am lost for words.
The audacity of these guys to do it not once, not twice, but 3 times in a row, and with a heal off, no less, Mini Miner. You know what? I was holding out for that heal off for once in my life. I really wanted to see it, and I wasn't disappointed.
Well, this is incredible. What a performance from Akira and Kurama. They have just been putting on an absolute display of excellence today. And the cast has mentioned it, playing a lot like Sky and Scroll, down on that low ground. And it's just been excellent to watch them all throughout the day. That's their third victory royale, I should say, in a row. And we spoke about it at the beginning of the day. We felt like these guys had a little bit too much for this lobby. They were too good, really, to be in this position. Had a bit of an upset, really, I guess you could say, in the major finals. And they have come out to play yet again today. Pretty much, you have to imagine, qualifying through already. Even this end game, really nicely played. Got very fortunate, you have to say, with that 12th zone, of course, not quite working out for the team up on height, of course, because it came all the way back down. But even here in these final moments, just finding all of these heals, that was the crucial elimination. And I think Kurama actually played these heals a little bit earlier than he would have liked. I think there was a moment there where he would have actually wanted to play inside of the zone a little bit longer. I think he started popping them with around 25 seconds to go there, as of course it's one of those where he wanted to play it earlier, he wanted to try and get those heals off, but thankfully it worked out very well.
So is this just a case of these guys finally not having a troublesome off-spawn situation? They're able to handle that now at Battlewood, and now it's plain sailing for these guys, because that was a problem for them way back in Grands, Levin.
I think the key thing when you have a team like this, right, is they have the talent, right? Everyone's been telling them that all season long. You guys have the talent, you have the ability to showcase what you can do. You now have the guidance of a top team who's done it. They've shown you that pathway. They've set that path. They've shown you, they've guided you. You just have to follow it in, hit the shots they know they need to hit. And I think that's one of the key differences here for them.
Well, it's been fantastic to see. Can they do it for a fourth time? I don't know, but I do know we need to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing the other duos in the lobby.
Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive. Watch me arrive.
Two teammates have his back. Where's Smash? Gets the drop on the Marion. Stays alive. They're targeting out Vanya. 3v1.
I got healed. That went well. I'm popping a med bit. Wait, short. Got 6 builds? No, max up. Wait, if you are med, wait. 100! 100! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
And I don't know how to feel about it.
You're not used to losing. Getting beaten?
Not like this. These players are just so locked in.
Could it be the milk? Stay there.
Welcome back to the FNCS Second Chance Qualifier, and it's been quite a night for the French because so far Akira and Kurama have managed to get 3 victory royales back to back. A fantastic night also for the likes of Skyjump and Mumsy, and we're starting to see Podosai and Sato work out the end game situation and make it to the final few. So let's see what happens for them in the next couple of games. But right now we should talk about Pix and Ghost, because I feel like we haven't spoken much about Pix this season. He's almost been overshadowed by his ex-teammates Dom and Demus and Mini Miner, but he's having a great night so far.
Yeah, he is. He was sort of course, playing with Mustache for a lot of this season. That's why we haven't really seen too much of him, because, of course, Mustache and Akira, Pix, I should say, they didn't actually necessarily have a great season at all when it comes down to it. But now finding some real great success with Ghost here. Of course, a little bit of a hot and cold day, I guess you could say, when you look at their placements. They had an 8th, a 2nd, a 16th, and then, of course, a 3rd in this last game. But it's actually really nice to see them popping off.
Can you guys hear me? I just want to make sure you guys can hear me. I'm here.
No, we can hear you.
Okay, well, look. Pigsovsky, Seren, I think one thing we know about these guys is they're full of surprises, and we saw that obviously here in this endgame. Again, the games are wrapping up, and so you want to start to pick up the pace as things sort of close out. You do not want to see the lobby pass you by, and I think it'd be a shame for them to slip out of them. So to see them have that game push them up 9 places, very good.
Yeah, I think they'll be very happy with that, given that they narrowly missed out on that last victory royale due to a heal off. And I have to say, Karama having the luck of being surrounded by Chug Jugs as well. Let's talk about Savage and Velo if we can, because I think that this is a master performance from No Remorse, aka Velo. He keeps dragging them onwards through those end games, even when he's found himself in these solo situations. I'm repeating myself from the last post game, boys.
Yeah.
But it's been fantastic to see the two of them working together so successfully in this last game, Levin.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to be repeating myself as well, right? Because it just keeps on happening where they end up in these situations where, Velo has to, get some points on the board. The one thing I will say is this game probably was a bit smoother, right? We saw a bit more action from the both of them, Mini, as the end game unfolded. And so, again, heating up when it matters the most.
Yeah, and it's nice to see Savage actually trying to, or getting more involved in these end games, of course, going down there first again, but it's nice to see them both making it there. I think they're definitely heating up, they're definitely warming up, and if they do make it into this Major 1 Summer, I think the experience that Savage has on these LAN situations is going to be super duper vital for them, but it's not quite done and dusted yet. They still got a lot of questions, they still got a lot of games here, 2 more to go to make the most of them, so it's going to be difficult for them, but I think if Velo's still playing as well as he is, they should make it through.
The fact is, Mr. Savage is currently in Paris. Levin, you said he's been on holidays. So if these two do make it to Dusseldorf, we know that they're going to be putting the hours and the practice in, because Mr. Savage, he's got a reputation to uphold. He doesn't want to disappoint the fans, and he rarely does. He's always showing up. So fingers crossed for him. Also, fingers crossed for Zangi and Belushi as well. They had a fantastic couple of first games, and they're definitely in contention for making it to Dusseldorf, Mini.
Yeah, they've been really consistent, actually, looking at their match history today. They've been really solid. It's a team that we spoke about earlier on in the season as being really solid and really consistent up on height, but they've not really found that necessarily height success in this lobby, and it's kind of working out for them. They've been playing more towards those mid to low ground layers, squeezing out as much placement as possible, because ultimately, Levin, that's what matters. You need to have these consistent games, and they're doing so pretty well right now.
Yeah, this is a team I expected to do well in this lobby, just because they were one of the teams who showcased this type of ability in the heat, right? And again, I feel like we walked away from a lot of those games going, hold on a minute, Zangi and Belushi, they might have something for us here, right? And again, wasn't able to translate more beyond that. But I think, again, the quality of this lobby means that they have found that confidence again. They've almost found their rhythm and their flow.
Did you notice, though, guys, the Elim numbers? Kira and Karama have twice as many Elims as the next strongest duo. Everyone else is 14, 13-ish, sometimes a few below that in the top 10. But these guys are doing so well. I wouldn't be surprised if they pick up the next victory royale. And we're about to see if that can happen, because we are ready for game number 5 with Taco and Takata.
Look, just the fact that Akira and Karama have won 75% of the lobbies that have taken place so far today, Takata, that is a disgusting metric to work by. You would think that these guys have been landing North Battlewood Boulevard the entire season with how excellently they're performing here today.
And speaking about where they're landing, I'm trying to think now what's going to happen at Summit. They're not going to contest Sky and Scroll, obviously. If we go off where they were landing previously, they'd be contesting Dharm and Deemish at the Summit. But let's focus back on the games today, because the next game, game number 5, is ready to go.
Certainly leaves the mind to wonder whether or not they even want to revert back to that original position. Not to say, though, that you're going to contest the duo that is helping you out. I don't expect that to be an outcome.
So funny.
After today's performance, it would just be, it'd be a little bit too evil of Fortnite. I don't really think Akira and Karama are looking to get wicked in that sort of narrative. But for right now, honing in onto this engagement over by Riptides, Lusha, Howley, they're in position, striking range right now for top 8. They cannot afford to go down off spawn, though, if they want to keep the dream alive. And at the same time, Takata, there's really not a lot that you want to be splitting here at Riptides. They're going to have to find closure. They're going to have to find eliminations.
Need to get their protein, eat their steaks. This is an important match for Howley Lusha. They got 4th game 1, 18th game 2, but since then, 32nd, 44th. They cannot afford another low point match. They need to make something happen here. So they set themselves up for the last match, put themselves in qualifying range. It literally all comes down to this early game.
The problem too for this duo is that everybody else that's towards this west side of the map, they're fully aware of the fact that these two teams have just been clashing non-stop. Since lobby number 1, Howley and Lusha have been trying to claim their stakes towards Riptides, but Zynox, Wolvax refuse to budge. They're not just gonna let this go for free. They know exactly what kind of goodies being able to sit on the vending machines, just too many advantages that both of these teams want to be able to utilize. Granted, it's obviously gone better for Howley and Lusha, but for Hydro and Keto, hey, we thought Wonky Land was already done and settled. Turns out, there's still teams that would like to try and claim it. Skyjump, though, looking to push back. Keto, Hydro, only one more shot, and they're going to be able to find it. What really matters here, Takada, as exciting as it is to see a surprise contest, Skyjump and Momsy should be fine. Realistically, the math works out in their favor because they have consistently been making the end games. I don't expect them to get pushed outside of the top 8 from this one early departure from the lobby. But for Hydro and Keto, now they've got to convert. You found those 8 points off the eliminations, but can you make it towards a strong top 5 finish to put yourself into contention for consistency?
Is it fine though? I mean, Skyjump Momsy, 180 points. The cutoff is 148. I wouldn't be surprised if they become the cutoff now going into the last match. And if the early game goes like it did here, this could be devastating for Skyjump and Momsy. Like you said, on the other hand, Hydro Kaido though, they're feeling a little happy now, smiles on their face.
No, they're not, brother. They have 44 points. What do you mean they're happy?
Well, I mean, they just got 2 elims off the bat. They have one of the best POIs now. They're going to have loot. They're going to have mats now. Obviously, the hard part is still not done. So we'll see if they can close it out in the late game. But Howley Lusha, we talked about it, Taco. They need to come out on top here.
They've got to try and turn this around because the longer this fight goes, the less that either of these duos will have to work with. And the way that this fight also just keeps shifting further and further south. Howley, Lusha, finally going to be able to get the opening strike here, but it's onto a separate duo entirely. They opted to rotate and aggress Maldives and Likrex, but again, Howley and Lusha, they don't really have much that they can afford to lose. They have to make sure that they are finding consistent eliminations. 8 points, definitely gonna help them out.
No, this is a big start. This is a big start for them. They just have to focus more on kind of their standard game plan. They need to get mats. They need to get kitted up for the late game. They have the eliminations. Back over Savage Velo. The issue is they've always been kind of in that top 8, in that qualifying range, but it's been on the cusp of it. One bad game is enough to put them out. So if they're able to get a big one here in the second to last match, it could solidify a spot higher up. But if not, pressure's going to stay.
They've only had one lobby though outside of the top 10, but this is where disaster strikes. Savage caught off guard. They pushed over towards that north side of Dark Dominion really early on. They wanted to try and build up their metal, but Ziffy injured. He just had other intentions. Now Velo left as a solo. Fortunately, it is so early into the game that they should be able to try and make a play for a reboot. It's just the repercussions of that kind of game plan delay, recovering all of that lost surge. It's gonna be a bit of a feat to overcome, but Savage and Velo can get it done.
Making me a little stressed now, though. Howley Lusha back again in another fight. Looking like they don't want to slow down. A big shot was connected from Howley, but Lusha has taken shots, so it basically just evened up. They do have control of the vending here at Battlewood now, so the heals will be recuperated as well as the shields. But there's still so many teams in the surrounding area.
Good amount of gold, but there's also teams there at that South Battlewood position that haven't been there from the start of the day. Everybody just doing everything in their power, pulling out all the stops to see whether or not that's going to be the difference maker in the leaderboard outcome. Sinet and Giddus, they're going to take a little bit more of a scenic route, completely away from everybody else in the lobby. They'll be opting for that dead side approach. Question is, did they manage to establish enough surge in advance to where that won't be kind of warping away at them? They make their entry into zone.
Synox and Cone out. They picked up an Elim, but in the middle of the ocean, they'll find another one. West of Rip Tides. This is the team
Chase
that was
this.
kind of... Yeah, they chased this by a good amount. Professional swimmers, it seems. The deal in Zhu last game did not go their way. 34th place, 0 eliminations. They were doing so well with a 7th and a 5th, but once again fell down early. I'm really hoping they can set themselves up for the last match. I mean, in 13th place. Currently, they're a little more than 30 points, or around exactly 30 points away.
It's definitely still feasible for them to try and make a good push, sort of leapfrog and overcome some of those other teams inside of the leaderboard. All you need is 8th and above. As long as you can make it there and hold on to it for the last lobby, you will find yourself with a Battle Bus ticket towards the Major One Summit LAN. And sure enough, Velo has been able to make the reboot play, but from the north side of zone, you have to know that there's going to be a lot of teams already boxed inside a slightly better position, so they've got their work cut out for them. Fortunately, they've done a decent job of the day. Like I mentioned, only one lobby where they actually fell outside of that top 10 range. If they can find another top 10 placement, they might just have done enough to confirm their spots for LAN.
It's close, but it's definitely very possible. Looking quite bright, so this game honestly decides a lot for most of these players. Every one of these players has a quick sneaky play is coming, a 3-2-1, and it will be a success.
And that's what you want to see from a sneak play. You don't want the shots to miss. You want them to confirm. Nice elimination. But for Usku and Mags, chilling still inside of the storm. Still need a little bit more metal too. Lusha and Howley on the other end of things, they might just be the cutoff point. Even if you find those eliminations in Storm, it's another thing entirely to make sure that you can actually utilize it when you actually get into zone.
Hang and walks. Didn't quite see exactly how the start kind of played out here, but seeing that they have one elimination on the board, I can assume it went quite in their favor. The issue I have is after that second place, they did jump up 30 places on the leaderboard, but then they only got 24th with 3 eliminations. I mean, it's not terrible, but this is a duo that needed some massive matches.
It's so scary too, because with the consistent off-spawn fighting that's taking place between Nexi and Ping's duos, now both of those teams sit outside of the top 8. You can see our leaderboard, our leaderboard leaders, Akira and Karama, they have been eliminated, but they have such a huge lead over the rest of the lobby. There's no real reason for concern. They have definitely confirmed their tickets to the Major One Summit LAN. We will be seeing them play. And some of those other teams leave on that Saturday performance, but locking back in game 5. See what happens next.
As a reminder, all the top 8 teams that do qualify today will go directly to day 2 at the Dusseldorf Summit LAN. So they only get one chance to make the Sunday finals versus the teams who have already qualified, not through this second chance. We'll get 2 opportunities if they don't make it after day 1. So I'm curious to kind of how the drop spots change up as that goes on. But for Zynox and Co, 4 elims to kick this off. They're in 30th, 56 points going into this game. Now just from the elims already bumped themselves to 72. One big end game could be enough.
But it's going to need to be a top 5, top 3 performance, ideally. A lot of eliminations behind it. Merstash and Vanya sitting at just 44 points headed into this 5th lobby. Even though this isn't the last lobby of the day, Takada, this is likely their last opportunity to stay within contingency of being able to make it into that top 8 of consistency. They have to close out here with a top 3 performance. They need to find eliminations if possible too. It might be in the final hour, but both of those players, it would just be obscene to see them miss out. Still, it is a rather likely outcome based off of what's taking place here today. You know both of them don't want to miss it, though. You never know what Merstash has got cooking, okay? We might be able to see a Fragger performance of a lifetime here. And with Vanya to IGL, hope is still there. Not going to give up on it just yet.
I hope so, Taco. I hope so. PUBG Prax, second closest to make finals and not qualify, and now they're also in 12th. So we move on over. Maku, Casper, Axe Force, Sangi, Belusi. So many big duos here, and even more rotating in. This is not the place you want to take a fight. There's just too much danger from the surrounding areas.
These teams that are fighting inside of the 2-tick going to be much more susceptible to storm sickness later on. It's evident that the intention is to rotate the Sandy Strip Cube. A little bit of healing involved too off of those pizza slices, so they can tank up some, but they don't want to lose all of their heals towards the storm. Picks and goes, 212 points. Currently in that 2nd place position on the leaderboard. Another duo that's looking very likely to confirm their spot for Dusseldorf, but right now, gotta lock in here. Hardcore Kire. Got Haijo and Keto on the ropes here. Haijo and Keto got off to a bit of an explosive start against Skyjump and Mumsy, but that was just the beginning half of the battle. 1-for-1 exchange. Hardcore now trying to see if he can bring down Haijo with it, and sure enough, cuts things short for Haijo and Keto. As Hardcore and Kire managed to hold strong. The revive, no problem. But Haijo and Keto, that is a huge issue. They've got so many points to try and overcome in that last lobby.
But for Haruko and Kire, that might have been the best eliminations for them of the whole day. If they can make it back into zone. Sangi, Belusi, 3rd place right now, one of the most comfortable teams, but they could honestly close out the qualification in this match if they do well enough. But with Sangi not being able to use the Chug Jug in time, Belusi being left alone, it's not what you'd like to see.
It's tough, but they were still sitting in 3rd. We are seeing a couple of hiccups, though. 2 teams inside of the top 3. Haruko, Kire. They've got their work cut out for them still, 185 below. Gonna start looking at some of those teams across the way. Maybe get a little bit more aggressive even. Flowberry missed grenade, so this trails off for them. They'll likely have to follow the rotates here. Still trying to see what shots they can net for themselves. 54 above now, net search jumping in their favor for Maku. They're just gonna have to get scrappy. They've got to get active. 39 below. Casper, Prism, unfortunately on the receiving ends of things. That's gonna be the first elimination found onto Casper. 3 in total now for Maku. Looking to see if he can make it a 4th with Prism, but Prism will manage to wiggle away. 158 above. Not really a fight that Maku has to force any further.
Yeah, this 6th, 7th zone is where a lot of teams get kind of put into desperation for Storm Surge. And Haruko, despite those 2 quick eliminations, they damaged the receiving, or the damage they received was just too much. After losing Kire, going down even further, 378 below. They're gonna be in for a high pressure last match if we don't see a big solo clutch come through, but Haruko has gone down. Giraz Sinet, on the other hand, almost 800 above. We've only got 2 teams in the top 5 that are still standing at this point in time. Mr. Savage Velo, though, from Savage having gone down in the early game to now both players up in the late with almost 900 above Surge. What a comeback in this match.
Same case scenario though for Merstash and Vanya. They've got more than enough Surge to work with, but can they manage to turn this into a victory royale? That's really what they're hunting for in this 5th lobby. Eliminations are always nice, but keeping tabs of your Surge so you can put yourself into the best position, that is the intention right now for Vidil and Ju. Surge chopped in half, by the way. That's just the best indication of how volatile the net Surge metrics actually can be to sort of look to control. Ghost Picks, though, the only team left standing in the top 5. We are likely going to see a little bit of a shuffling between those duos that are in that 4th and 5th place position and some other teams that are just outside of it. Thinking back, Savage, Velo, 168 points. They're not that far away. They would love to be in top 5 instead as Picks cut off. Completely separating a duo. Benfica, though, doesn't have a chance to think. He's just got to keep it moving forward, keep it pushing, reunite with his duo later on. Because if you get caught in this congestion right now, strong duos like Vidil and Ju likely looking to take advantage of it.
It's not worth to take those big shots when you're just on the cusp of being below Surge. Vidil and Ju now, once again, comfortably above. Issue is they got to find the rotate here. You don't want to suffocate in between other players' builds, but with the knock in front of them, they're going to get a refresh as they quickly go right back where they have their base.
A little bit of material to work with. Fairly healthy amount of builds there on Vidil. Ju just continuing to claim even more space in those lower layers. We're seeing Vanya and Merstash. Vanya known for wanting to take height, but can he actually make it there?
This is 1st and 2nd place at the Global Championship. I mean, these are some of the biggest names in Fortnite competitive. Merstash, Vanya, they have to get the job done. You have Mr. Savage Velo. I'm hoping we see the chemistry from this duo come through. There's been a lot of solo clutches, but if there's any moment in time you want to see both players up, both players performing to their best of their abilities, now is the time. Vidil and Ju as well, looking good.
For an Iron Moneymaker, they need this. They can't afford to let panic take over. You have to settle your nerves. Ju and Vidil, though, the placement points helping them mount dividends. 132 now, just continuing to try and scrap their way into that top 8 position of the leaderboard. Podesai Sato from overhead. They've currently got full control of the high ground, but they're going to need a refresh. They're going to need more material. Duo like Savage, tarping directly underneath them from secondary height. They might be looking for an attempt, but first they're going to get focused by the rest of the lobby that's left scattering underneath them. The lower layers, though, just getting absolutely whopped on right now by Savage and Velo, wasting no time. See if they can secure even more eliminations here. They know that those teams are clashing head on, and Savage is going to continue tarping forward. Velo probably moments away from dropping to look for some body loot here, but it's Merstash and Vanya. They've got 3 eliminations here, but Merstash, he's got nothing left to work with. They've been cleaned out of the lobby. A little bit of placement built up, sure, but they have so much to overcome in this 6th game of the day. Right now, though, Velo, elimination onto Lusha. That's exactly what they needed. More materials to work with, more of a buffer zone inside of the top 5 now. But Velo, he's not done just yet. It's gonna help Savage start to lead the charge here. Vidil, Ju, also hoping that they can finish strong.
Low mats, though, only 5 builds to work with for 9 as well, left as a solo. Good news is he has more than enough materials. Savage has gone down, though. Velo, once again, left in another solo clutch, but he knows how to handle the pressure today. Velo has not been disappointing. They've been making top 10 after top 10, solo clutch after solo clutch. Velo, once again, finish it off strong, 214 points. This could be enough to put you in qualifying range. As Podesai Sato, they lost height in the last game. They've got a second chance at it, and now they're looking to close it out.
Velo realizes, though, he's been spotted by high ground. He's gonna have to try in 2 versus 1, but he can't hold on. Separate angles. Podesai Sato doing a great job of clearing out An isolated solo here, and now it's all about F9. He was trying to make the approach sneaky, but he's spotted out, forced to drop all the way down ultimate low. His last Flowberry misgrenade, Jake Puka sliding around, but won't be able to convert another elimination. F9 stuck inside the mayhem of that Flowberry misgrenade. Somehow, some way, no one has spotted him out just yet. Ju going for a little bit of a heal-off opportunity now. Every bit of placement counts at this stage as Zynox, Avalo, Wolvex, all these teams still littered around the low ground, but it's Zynox and Wolvex who might have the advantage here, dealing with two separate solos. Ju, though, from height, might be able to bring them down.
It's looking like a zero build FNCS. Almost everybody's out of mats. They have to hit their shots now. Another player goes down. It's the Buell. Now Ju is left alone in the 1v2. Can he make it happen?
Ju's got to get fraggy with this one. It would be monumental for him and Vidil's scoreline. But Zynox, Wolvex, they're not going to make it easy. Ju looking for the opening shot. Not going to be able to connect, though. And the duo turns around and brings him down. Nice victory royale to seal things out here in Game 5. But we are definitely going to witness some leaderboard shakeups. Takada, 6th, 7th, and 8th place, looking very questionable right now.
Yeah, a lot, if not all, of the top 5 duos went down incredibly early in that match. And Zynox, Wolvex, I don't even know how many eliminations they had. It was more than 10. So they are definitely bumping themselves up in the standings. What a performance so far, but we have to head back to the desk before we close out the last game of the day.
Is it too little, too late? We will see when we see the standings after the break. But Vidil and Ju, a very close second for them there. Mini Miner, what did you make of this result?
Yeah, it was a good result there for Vidil and Ju. Of course, they needed a big game to kind of boost their way up in the standings. For Zynox's team, though, that's going to be absolutely massive for them as well. They've been kind of out of it today. It was one of those where I kind of forgot Zynox was even playing in this lobby. It's going to be important, though, for him, of course, playing with Truly for a lot of the year. I think he's got a bit of a point to prove, Levin, to, to say, yeah, this is a position that I need to find myself in. This is a position I deserve to be in. And especially if they can qualify all the way to the summit, that'll be absolutely huge for this team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all have sort of been highlighting that story of, right, the split from Truly and Zynox and who was going to come out the better side of it. I think for quite some time, it obviously just looked like it was going to be Truly, right? Obviously, they made it to finals, but Zynox paired up with Wolvex. They're not letting the dream fade away. They're going to keep pushing and fighting till the very last game. You have to respect it, especially for two players who, you know, especially in the case of Wolvex, right? He obviously was playing in the major finals as well and didn't have the best of times, you could say that. And so now paired up with Zynox. Look, it's been a quiet day, but there's still one more game to go.
169 points is no joke, especially when you consider how close the points are within the top 10. So they may very well have a chance if they can have a fantastic Game 6. We'll be talking about the stakes after this break.
Watch me arrive.
I got healed. No, I'm not. I'm popping a med bit. Wait, short. You got 6 builds? No, max up. Wait, if you are med play. 100! 100! Oh my god! No! Oh my god! Oh my god!
And I don't know how to feel about it.
You're not used to losing. Getting beaten?
Not like this. These players are just so locked in.
Could it be the milk? Stay there.
A reversal of fortunes in game number 5 here at the FNCS Europe Major 1 Second Chance qualifier, because Akira and Kurama, who managed to get 3 victory royales back to back, actually went out in 50th. They know they have already qualified for the Major 1 Summit in Düsseldorf. Meanwhile, for most of the other duos here tonight, it's all to play for, and everyone has to have a fantastic end game in game 6 to know that they've booked their ticket. So let's talk about the big names on the leaderboard, because I have to say, looking at the top 8 guys, we're in for a banger if these duos make it to Düsseldorf. I mean, they're going to be joining some illustrious names already, but I'm so excited, especially to see that Velo and Savage are currently in 3rd mini minor.
Yeah, that's great for these guys. I mean, I'm looking at this top 8 as well. Look how close it is just for everyone. It's going to be a really exciting finish. But for a team that have had a really exciting finish to a lot of their games, these guys, I guess we could say Savage and Velo, but mainly Velo, have had a really, really good performance in the end game so far today. They've made consistent end games as well. They've had one bad game, and game in, game out, it just seems like the exact same story, Levin, just clutching up, solo clutching from Velo a lot of the time as well. But I think this game was a little bit more from Savage as well. It's nice to actually see him making these end games and growing into it too.
Yeah, I've not been able to check the solo point numbers, but I wouldn't be surprised if Velo was leading the day. He has really stepped up to the occasion, and that's what you want from these new talents, right? We've been bigging them up, hyping them up all season. Is this a new era? Is this a new generation? I think Velo very much wants to be a part of that. No remorse being shown today in the lobby. And another good game like that one, and they will be, you know, booking their tickets to Düsseldorf, or booking their flights, eh?
I'm really excited to see where Velo goes from here. I'm also excited to see that Podesai and Sato, after a really disappointing start to this lobby, have picked up the pace in the second half, Levin. They are making end games, they are taking height, but can they take it once more when it matters most in game 6?
Yeah, look, a great game for them, and a game that pushed them into that qual range. I'm almost going to say slightly disappointing, though, because they had height, and they just couldn't really do anything with it, right? So you can see here, Sato went down with 0 eliminations, and you're going to see the same thing actually happen with Podesai. Podesai went down with 0 limbs. They had a 6th place 0 limb game. Again, it's enough to push them up and get them slightly more comfortable, but like Mini highlighted, the margins are still so tight. Hopefully, you would have wanted them to capitalize a bit more in that game when a lot of their top competitors were out of it and they're up on height. But all in all, I like what I'm seeing for these guys. The momentum is there. Big last game here now, and we'll be rooting for Podesai to get it done.
Well, I think they have a good chance as well. Remember, they're sort of uncontested at the north side of the map, just to sort of the east of Frigid Fortress, right? So, you know, their early game's looking solid. You can see that with the lack of eliminations as well. They're able to find their surge tags in a good way, not take too much damage as well. And even in that end game, they had height, they had a good situation. I think it was Sato there that dropped down a little bit, ended up being a little bit too split and got caught off guard. So if they can avoid that happening in this final game, get another sort of top 10 situation, they should be just about fine.
Well, we managed to see another one of those clutches that Vidil is known for in the last game, although it was Ju who found himself in the 2v1 situation. Interesting to see that these guys are representative of the lobby tonight, though, Levin, and the fact that they've only got 13 eliminations 5 games in. Obviously, they're not the only ones, but I'm wondering if they're going to have to step things up and take a few more chances in this last game.
Well, I'd say this is one of the teams I feel really good about, just as far as, again, what we've seen from them today. I think regardless, you know, both of these players are capable of stepping up when needed. But they've been really, you know, there's been some great teamwork, I think, from them. And, you know, Minnie, one of the worries you always sort of see with teams that sort of join together for these formats, what a shot that was, by the way. Sato had
Lovely.
no chance. Is, you know, maybe people not being on the same page, right? The chemistry not quite being there. But I think for these guys, it looks a lot better than what we've seen from other people in the lobby.
Yeah, it's a great point because I think, of course, Ju was making the finals, the Major One finals here just last weekend, and I think they had a few issues, him and Cantry there. I think there was a few chemistry issues. They kind of got on each other's backs a little bit, and the chemistry within that duo wasn't great when it came down to it. I think they got 40th or something in the end. So the fact that he can sort of put that behind him now, new teammate coming in with Vidil, I'm sure Vidil will be really we're looking to be really promising this competition as well, because he's just in form as well. So the combination of both of those stories kind of makes sense in this duo, and it's nice to see it sort of coming to fruition here.
Yeah, and they've got the motivation of the potential to play it in front of a home audience in Düsseldorf. Don't worry, guys, I'm going to practice saying that one so many times in the next few weeks. Let's take a look at the leaderboard, because as we've already mentioned, it's really close in terms of points right now, and anything can happen after this game. Nothing is guaranteed apart from Akira and Kurama basically already booking their spot to Düsseldorf. So we could have some movement even within this top 20, this page 2 mini minor.
Yeah, it's really, really, really close. I mean, we saw Zynox have a good game right there. That boosted them up massively into that top 10 as well. You see Alva Harlow and Jake Buka there moving up 10 spots. So it's so close. These off spawns are going to matter even more. These end games are going to matter even more. And for the teams that are in and around maybe between sort of 8th and maybe 15th, if you have a good game here, you could definitely find yourselves at the Major One Summit here.
So guys, this is it. There's no third chance qualifier. This is the last game before we find out the final 8 duos that are going to be representing Europe at the PSD Bank Dome in Düsseldorf. So Taco and Takata, let's find another winner.
I'm excited, but I'm also stressed, especially for duos, even some of them that are in the top 8. I mean, Skyjump Momsy, they went down basically off spawn in the last match. They've been in the top 8 throughout the whole day. But if they have a repeat of last game, they will literally not qualify.
I think they would mentally implode if they had a repeat of the last game, because it would just be way too reminiscent of what happened to them in the actual Major One finals themselves. Keep in mind, Takata, they were right there on the cusp. So can they do it? Can they close it out? We'll find out here in Game 6.
$176 points is what the cutoff currently is for top 8. It's going to change a lot in this last match, though. If you're in the top 8, you're just trying to play as consistent as possible. If you're one of the teams that's more the middle end of the leaderboard, Glubsheep, Prax, Truly Gonzo, Vito Dexy, even some a bit closer up, everything is on the line, just like for Howley and Lusha.
They don't want to go to Riptides. They're just going to take the aggressive marks off of the battle bus. A little bit too dicey for them to want to put their fates into what might happen with that consistent off spawn. But just because you find a knock doesn't mean you're able to get the elimination after the fact. And New Sanctuary just has so many more visitors. This is going to be a very messy off-spawn for more parties than just Ali and Lusha. And right now, nobody can feel safe. Nobody can feel settled in. Gilba, Farhawa, trying to see what they can do for a recovery point. But the lifeline, it's looking grim right now. Gilba won't be able to escape. And that's the end of the line here for Gilba and Farhawa. One of the first duos that are going to be eliminated from their opportunity to try and make it to Düsseldorf last minute. But Lusha, Ali, not out of this just yet, still in the thick of it. Lusha on his last 2 legs here, and he won't be able to make it out. Matre, Siley playing spoiler right now. Howley, where are you at? But even if he wants to play backup, he's lost most of his shield. He's just gonna look to try and take the porta potty out of here. No, doesn't get the chance, went too far past, and fully trying to escape.
Yeah, we gotta be careful as the chase comes through. Howley is now cracked, but he gets a nice counter shot to connect. Will it be enough for his opponents to disengage? Saley does not want any more of it. As Howley now is put in a tough spot. His teammates down as they're gonna have to play the slow game here. Go for the reboot. And it's just getting started.
For a moment there, I really thought that I was just watching some kind of horror movie pathing. You know, you're kind of wondering, like, how is this guy still getting caught by the attacker? And Howley, I mean, I understand it. Not very many options left to run, especially when you're dropping at an area that you don't necessarily have the greatest amount of practice with, considering that they really wanted to just try and make sure that Riptides could be their home base, but just not going to be the case here. Howley still left to try and get some form of recovery, but the tunnels just continue to get more and more visitors as Matre still stuck and waiting, but there is just so much to deal with here. Only 22 points also, Takada. You're playing for the reboot. You're playing to hope that you can bring your duo back into this one. But they need more than just the Victory Royale at this stage. They need, like, double-digit eliminations, too.
Back over to Velo and Savage. I mean, shout out to Velo. He has been playing absolutely incredibly today, and I mean, both players, they've been keeping up the pace. Top 10 every single game except for the second match of the day where they got 36th. They're now sitting pretty comfortably at 214, but they still need to do something here in this match to fully solidify themselves. Like Qual.
A quick showcasing of the leaderboard just to let everybody know. Akira, Karama, they have been eliminated extremely quickly again here in Game 6, but they've already done more than enough, Takada. They're not going to be pushed outside of the top 8. They will be at Dusseldorf to play in Day 2. Right now, though, we're trying to wait and see who's going to join them. Ghost and Pix here at Battlewood Boulevard. And not having to deal with the likes of Akira and Karama, that's just going to make things all the easier for this duo to potentially net some big success here.
Yeah, they're quite comfortable as well in second place, the amount of points they have. They don't need much this game. Casper, though, put into panic as Walks and Ping pick up 2 quick eliminations. This is what they needed, though. 100 points on the board is not gonna do it. They need a big match. Honestly, might even need a win.
They need a win, or they need at least 8-9 eliminations, if not more, and a top 3 placement. They've already gotten a second here today, so it's not unrealistic to think that they could possibly run it back one more time, but when everybody else is also hunting with a very similar intention, it's not going to be an easy mission to accomplish. Edra, Tasia hunting for this last player. They've already got 1 elimination. They just want the extra 4 points to go with it. You have to remember, 10th place right now was 169 points entering this game, Takada. So all of these duos that are sitting just around that 100-point threshold, they know it's go big or go home. They're all hunting for that Victory Royale.
Pressure is on for the final match of the day, but a duo that has done incredibly well to kind of solidify themselves in a great spot leading into this final match is Fadil and Ju. 5th place, 190 points. They got second last game. I mean, Fadil, thinking back to the last FNCS duos in 2024 with Reason, he got 7th, 4th, and 5th in the majors, the best out of any German duo. So it'd be great to see him represent once again in Dusseldorf, Germany. Odds are high, but the job's not finished.
It's also just been a roller coaster of emotions day for Ju and Fadil. They've been outside of that top 8. They've been inside of the top 8. Now they're looking to just hold on to it. Like you said, job's not finished. Izzy and Nassif dealing with the likes of Jason Skozer. Given that they already have 4 eliminations, they have largely just been playing cleanup crew. 170 points, though. Just another one of those duos that was right there on the threshold of top 8.
Bomb sky jump. This is not the team you want to be fighting, where if you go down, your chances are ruined. 17 shield to work with, up against first and second place at the Global Championship, Merstash and Vanya. They also basically have nothing to lose. Merstash, Vanya need one of the biggest games that we're gonna see if they want to qualify. So for Skyjump and Momsy, let's hope that just the tags will be enough.
Sasha and Vanya, they just don't have much to work with. And there's still more pressure coming in. Momsy, he gets exactly what he's after. He's gonna find that first knock onto Merstash. It's all down to Vanya to try and keep the dream alive here. But when he's dealing with the likes of Momsy and Skyjump in such a favorable position, they'll have no problem whatsoever shutting things down. A heartbreaking exit here for Merstash and Vanya as two former top placing contenders from our global championship are going to miss out on Dusseldorf.
A new era in EU competitive. We look back over to Belusi Zangi, 198. They're continuing to push themselves up. They're gonna be in the low 200s, I'd say, to be comfortable.
Ooh. Oh, you hate to see it. Hallie and Lusha have just had to spend this entire game playing one without the other. And it all kind of draws back Takada to thinking, was the call to just take the hot drop off the battle bus as opposed to staking things out with Riptides? Maybe they felt like that fight just drawing on a little bit too long against the likes Dinox and Wolvax, not really worth it, but foreign territory for Hallie and Lusha. They've come so close. They just need a little bit more to crawl their way into that top 8, but double reboot performance, netting you what you need for the top 8 consistency side of things, that is just... It is just crazy to think about that actually working out in their favor, but they can't sit and think about the mental battles here. They just have to keep moving forward.
Yeah. For Podosai Sado, what a performance in the last 3 matches. They started off the day in shambles, but then they get 4th, 6th, 6th, and now in the top 6 as well. So close to closing it out. As we've got Chris Buka. We've got Ping and Walks. There's just so many duos in the surrounding area. A lot of options to connect some shots. Not only does Ping Walks already have 2 eliminations, but it looks like they want to add to the list, and it won't take long for them to get a knock despite all the duos rotating through. They don't even care. They said, we will still go for it. And I mean, it worked out.
That was a pretty reckless beeline, though. Sure, you've got the shields cracked, but there were just so many other duos in the surrounding area. It's incredible that they didn't lose most of their shield along the way. Sometimes tunnel visioning can pay off. They know that they need every single elimination they can gather, but you make that much commotion, you cause quite a fuss, bound to draw a little bit of extra attention with it. Other duos still hunting for points.
Now, my bias might be coming out here, being from Spain myself, but the Spanish duo, Haruko Kire, they're in 9th place right now, literally 1 placement off of qualifying. They started off the day strong, but in the final 2 matches, it has not gone their way. Now they were 6 points away from being in qualifying range, getting cut off by Pixovsky and Saren. Both players are up now. They've got mats, they've got hills. They're in the zone, basically. So I'm hoping that Surge doesn't get the best of them in that 6th to 7th zone.
They're hoping for an easy fight, but so many other teams are just so desperate in front of you. Kire incredibly low, going to be forced to fall back, but that just might be the green light right now for Wavy. Haruko, throw some heals towards his duo, Kire. They have so much space claimed. Probably their 1 net positive here. Specs and Wavy are not interested in trying to force this engagement, but it's only 8 points here, Takada.
Oh, no.
Mathematically,
200-point dream, Taco. 200-point dream.
this is largely a play for experience. Still a lot that can be gathered in these kinds of circumstances. The hopes for Dusseldorf, though, they could play spoiler big time for Haruko and Kire.
Sinead Giraz, 162. They're right below Haruko Kire in 11th. One of the teams trying to just reach for that top 8. A solid end game will be more than enough. It doesn't have to be the best end game they've had today either, just a decent match. Ping and Walks, on the other hand, they need a big game. 100 points at least.
Checking back in, though, Savage and Velo. They were sitting in that 3rd place position after that Game 5 performance. Feeling pretty good. You Savage and Velo, you've just got to stay on your markers. A big jump in the net surge overall, too. Savage and Velo, all they're looking to do is see how many points they can accrue. How high can they climb? To the moon, possibly, for Velo here. So he's looking up, scoping around Vicinity, trying to gather whether or not they've got open grounds for their next move.
I love to see it, though. They didn't even make it out of heats. They weren't able to get to finals, but now they're in such a strong position with high hopes of qualifying to Dusseldorf. So close. You could almost taste it. On the other end, Howley. This is not the position you want to be in. Does not even connect the opening shot. 1 Elam on the board, only 81 above in the 1v2. As Howley is the aggressor.
I think that Chaos Reloader did find a target. Buka and XZ, though. Don't think that they're very happy what Halley just did. Wants to move in, but Buka and XZ, they've been an interesting duo because they have so often just drawn out fights. They're just not an easy duo to get a clean elimination sequence off of. They're able to really force teams to have to drag it out, and it just buys so much time and wastes so much time too. And now that they know Halley's a solo, they knew he needed that damage, but now they're looking to try and shut him down entirely. They might just do it. Howley actually put them into a pretty awkward position now as they sit underneath, but they will manage to convert Chris Buka in the eliminations. Now going to mean that Howley and Lusha are officially out of it.
For Sinead and Giraz, they're not in yet. 162 points is solid though. Issue is, this is the most difficult section of the match in terms of having a net positive on your surge. Just 57 above, but you can see how quickly it goes below. They've got some initial tags on players rotating in, but they're gonna need way more.
More importantly still, they're trying to make it into the placement points portion. Teams still need to go down. Players still need to drop before Sinead and Gires are able to really even start factoring in. Little by little, every placement point, every elimination from this point forward is going to be what separates them between making it to Dusseldorf and falling short yet again. And obviously, they want to make sure that they are on the more positive side of that. But it is just not going to be easy here, Takada. Working against the Surge, working against these duos that are starting to trickle in. You also don't want to draw too much attention from the rest of the lobby and get focused yourself.
Don't even think they have shields at all. So they are running out of time, forced to overdrive themselves in, but Giros is gonna get knocked. Surge has actually changed to above, but Sinead now getting cracked, quickly dropping down. Just 53 builds to work with, 4 above now, no more heals. 59 HP is where he's gonna be stuck.
That is just so tragic for Sinead and Gires. Moneymaker and Panay, they were just ready for it. They looked back, they knew, and now Sinead, dreams cut short here for yet another duo in this lobby. All the while, more positive note here for Savage and Velo. They're sitting 304 above, still at 214 points. don't need to do too much, though. You just need to play it smart, play it safe. Ju and Vidil, though, they don't mind getting a little bit flashy if they must, but ideally, they want to just look to push teams back, take advantage of any players that might be a little bit more hurt than they are. They would definitely like a refresh, though.
Yeah, looking to see how they can plan this next one out. The job is not done yet at 194 points. They still need to get a little bit more to confirm it. Fellow Savage, despite the zone pulling far from the drop spot, they've still managed to be 400 above. They've done it when the zone pulled to them. They've done it when the zone pulled away. The consistency today has been incredible, and I'm hoping to see it end that way as well.
If Savage and Velo actually confirm their spots to Dusseldorf here today, Takada, it would be insane to think about the fact that Velo, he hasn't even played in a grand finals ever for FNCS, and yet he might be participating at a LAN, okay? That is a pretty insane metric to factor in. But that's a whole different can of worms for Savage to try and help his duo overcome when the moment strikes. Because right now, they just got to lock in, make sure they can even stay within the top 8 in the first place. Look at the draw right now for Hardcore and Kires. Looking a little bit rough here. Trying to break some of these pre-existing builds. Vidil, Ju, mid-layer. Teams all around them. Vidil trying to get through, open up the edits. A little bit of a fumble here. That might be the difference, but they still have some points. Placement is ticking in. Vidil, you've done it once. You nearly did it twice during heats. Now is your moment to really shine through and represent exactly what kind of history you are trying to preserve with the qualification spot to Dusseldorf.
For Haruko as well, the job is not finished. The issue is only 3 builds are left. Pop the last mini. Savage Velo in a much healthier position, as now they're choosing the Pizza and Storm. They'll be having their pizza party as Haruko's trying to find his way to ride the wave backside of zone. Going through previous tarps, seeing if he can find another solo knocking on his door, but the issue is, from our perspective, it's all duos around him. Vidil is going to be one of the other solos. 28 builds to work with, both players, everything on the line.
Vidil also with a couple of splashes, but he's got a duo breaking down the wall in front of him. 202 points, will it be enough? He needs players like Arco to be sent packing, and sure enough, Spanish Flame, it's been doused out entirely. Brax and Glupshi, if they can win this lobby out, Takada, that might just be what it takes to put themselves inside of that top 8. Savage, Velo still working their way through secondary height, spending that time inside of the storm, taking up more placement with the pizza. It could be the real difference maker here today.
Skyjump Momsy, they felt the stress in the last match, but now making it to the end game, they're getting closer and closer to solidifying themselves a spot at Dusseldorf. I'm starting to get excited as Savage's been dropped down. Velo's still up as well. They pick up an elimination, 240 points. It looks like they might be doing it. This is it. Velo, I would say the most deserving player of qualifying right now, and they have it, Taco.
Velo was looking to reestablish his pride more than anything after everything that took place. But Brax, Glupshi, spoiler on height. Glupshi gonna be able to strike back. Moneymaker, though, still looking to try and hold things strong. Whoever manages to stay on top here, as a solo even, might be a little bit of a settling. The team's underneath, but the zone's not pulling back. Moneymaker's not gonna get the break he was hoping for. He's just gonna have to keep things moving forward. Podesai dropping layer by layer. Still sitting in the middle ground. No one to try and intervene just yet. Savage, Velo, yet another elimination. 3 in total. This duo has done enough here, Takada. But Momsy and Skyjump, they're still trying to confirm it even further still.
I want to close it out with the bang. 6 elims already. They're on height. Not a single duo looking like they want to contest them. Zangi dropped the 3 builds. His duo's still up, but they've got to make sure they hit their shots here. As Savage, he's lost Velo. It's your time to shine, Savage. He goes down as well, but 272 should be more than enough. Skyjump, Momsy now, they're dropping down.
Skyjump, Momsy, they're not looking to miss out. Not this time around. They currently have good control over height, and Momsy just going ballistic in the low ground. 5 eliminations, 9 in total already. already for the French duo. Skyjump still trying to claim even more. Skyjump dropping yet again, but he does get put down into the dirt. Still, Momsy with 6, make it 7. Sato versus Momsy and Nosif. And even still, Nosif and Sato, they needed something to come up in their favor, but Momsy's not gonna be able to stay strong. Nosif, Sato just looking to bring it out. It's a 1 versus 1. This could be the difference for who actually makes it to land here, Takada. These players working with a very similar point contention here. Just need to get the last shot. Sato, can he close it out? He's been considered a very strong fragger, and sure enough, Nosif will be able to shut that one down, but the leaderboard positions, they've got to be all over the place right now.
I'm thinking the cutoff is going to be higher than we expected. 11 eliminations from Nosif and co. Are you kidding me? What a way to close out the day. I am lost for words. That is it for Taco and I on the casting booth. We got to head back to the desk. I want to see what that leaderboard looks like.
Me too, Taco and Takata. Thank you so much for your casting tonight. I have no idea what that top 8 is going to look like, but it has to have Nosif and Izzy in it because a victory royale coming from 12th place on the leaderboard, all those eliminations, Levin, it has to be inevitable now.
I, like the casters, am expecting things to be all over the place. And I'm eagerly waiting to see the updated leaderboard, man. So many different teams and players stepped up in that final game, and no one more than those guys. I mean, what a huge win to wrap it up.
That's what you need. That's what you need in the final game. You need to clutch up, especially when you're outside of that qualification range. It can be quite difficult just to make sure that you get the win. It can be quite difficult not to sort of tunnel vision on, right, how many placement points do we need? How much further on into the game do we need to get? Because these guys just completely tore it all apart. I mean, the number of eliminations they were able to get right there, the height take was absolutely perfect there at the end from them, or actually the low ground take, I should say, but really nicely done again from this team, who have been sort of sleeping giants, I guess you could say, in this lobby. They've had a couple of decent placements, not anything too crazy, and what a time to clutch it up there.
But when you've got 4 points per elimination, it is worth taking the risk that these guys did. And it didn't just pay off in terms of eliminations because, of course, they got the victory royale. So let's take a look now, guys, at our top 8. Let's see who has qualified and who will be representing Europe at the Major One Summit in Düsseldorf, 29th, 30th, 31st of May. Here we go, guys. And there you have it. Badil and Ju have made it. Lo siento to Takata because Yako and Kiri unfortunately narrowly missed the mark there. Izzy and Noclip, as predicted, they have managed to get themselves in contention with that victory royale. And I have to say, congratulations to Podosai and Sato, not just boys, but because they managed to find the consistency they needed in the last 4 games. And I have to say, I was so impressed by how they set things up in Imania.
Yeah, really, really impressive. I mean, I'm just sort of looking at the sort of distribution as well. It's sort of like the best and the rest. There's like 60-point difference between 7th and 8th. I mean, Vadil was solo clutching there at the end. Of course, we saw Yako and Kiri's team solo clutching, and it didn't make too much of a difference in the end. Vadil managed to stay alive just long enough, but luckily for him, the other team went down. So it's a big, big difference between some of the best teams in the lobby here and some of the teams that just about missed out. But for the likes of Ju and Vadil, really excited and really happy to see these guys qualify through, because of course they're German, so all of the German fans have another German legend to watch on LAN.
Absolutely, man. I mean, Badil, I'm not gonna lie, I was really rooting for him after what we saw him go through a week ago today in the last chance lobby, right? Where he just came nail-bitingly close on 2 occasions to picking up the win to be able to get him into the final and give him that chance there. So it's great. I know, you know, even though he's going into the lower bracket, you can never count Badil out, man. He's going to be ready and waiting to shock people in Dusseldorf as well.
It's really exciting to see Skyjump and Mumsy as well, consistently making those end games, making those plays for height and pulling off qualification, Levin.
I mean, for starters, can we just talk about all the French players who have made it in? We have 8 French players who have made it in to the lower bracket through this second chance lobby. You know, shout out to my boy Venno, who obviously just won FNTS and NA. He infamously, you know, talked about how there was no French players at the last LAN we had in France, and now we get to watch 8 of them play in Dusseldorf. Mumsy and Skyjump, though, are going to be 2 of the most formidable of that bunch. I mean, these guys have showcased in, across this season why they are a top team. Of course, one spot away from qualifying through the major finals and making it into the upper bracket. Even with them being in the lower bracket, you've got to think they should be able to make it through to that grand final lobby.
Yeah, they've got all the skill for it. And I think the big question for me now, leading into this Major One Summit, is like, where are they going to land? How are they going to manage off spawn? Because, of course, today they were landing over at Wonky Land. They found a lot of success from there. But it's like, are they going to be able to do that? Maybe they'll be able to do that in the lower bracket lobby. Maybe they won't. It kind of depends on who ends up qualifying through. But for them, they've got a little bit of time now. They have a target. They have a goalpost to aim for. And for them, that's trying to find a drop spot, try and find something that works, and find something that sticks for the summit.
I'm really excited to see Mr. Savage and Velo have made it. Now they're going to get lots of practice together, put the work in, as I said earlier today. And I'm just excited to see this new era of controller players as well, because Velo is the MVP for me of the evening 11.
Yeah, I mean, looking first things first, we get to see Mr. Savage on land, man. Oh my goodness, I was worried in EU that we were losing recipes and that, all the old titans were being phased out, but we get to hold on to the 200, Mr. 200 IQ, our icon, our EU competitive icon, Mr. Savage gets to play, and Velo, who is put on a show. Velo, wherever you are right now, take a bow. You deserve it, man. Everybody needs to be clapping it up. W's in the chat for Velo, because he was so impressive in so many moments today, Manny.
Well, we've still got more second chance qualifiers coming up in a bit. Obviously, North American Central is coming up in a couple of hours. But let's take a look at who has qualified so far for the second chance qualifier. We're going to be seeing these names play on the second day, the Saturday in Dusseldorf. They'll be joined by the 25 lowest performing duos who are playing on Friday. And then we'll have our top 50 playing in 8 final games on the Sunday to decide our first Major One Summit champions, Mini Miner.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Looking at the names that we've got on the screen, even over in Middle East right there, QNDX and Phantom, 2 names that I was surprised at when I was looking at those sort of results. They didn't, of course, make it through, and I was really shocked to see that. So even on some of the other regions, we've got some big names coming through into that lower bracket as well. And just to sort of pick up on the Savage conversation, I remember in 2023 Globals, he was playing with Vidil, and I'm pretty sure they won a game in that lower bracket, or they won the overall day, I should say, in that lower bracket. I'm sure they won a game in there as well. And then ended up qualifying through as well. They had a really, really good lower bracket day. So to see both of them back in a lower bracket format, but on separate teams, it's going to be really, really exciting.
I can't wait, guys. By the way, if you're wondering about who's going to qualify for NA West, I have a feeling that Mr. Jacob PR might end up doing a watch party for that one. So make sure you're following him on social to see when he is going to be streaming. We have got Fortnite Reload Elite Series coming up before we head to Dusseldorf. That's coming up in a couple of weekends' time, so keep your calendars open and available for that one. But looking ahead now to the Major One Summit, now we know who is going to be playing 11 2K. Are you ready?
Always. I don't know if you're asking me more than that. Just, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I mean, I am
He's ready.
ready.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, I am.
And Mini Miner, I don't know how to cue the dad jokes. I know we got the Cheese Louise in the last show that we thought would be our last FNCS show before we head to Dusseldorf, but are you cooking up anything special?
Not for today, but for Dusseldorf maybe. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
We don't want to overdo it here. We don't want to get people to think that's all I talk about. But no, there might, who knows, there might be something for Dusseldorf. I think the game's quality will take over. I think the excitement of the weekend will take over. And now the fact we actually have 3 days of competition rather than 2, it's going to be even more electric, even more exciting. So yeah, if you haven't got your tickets yet, as a fan, of course, make sure to come along.
Yeah, we can't wait to meet you guys in Dusseldorf. Keep it locked in for the next couple of hours, because then you're going to see Zeke and the gang bring you the NA Central second chance qualifier. Remember, there's no third chances. As for us, we will see you in Dusseldorf. So for now, please, let's sound that horn.